It's always, a little get a little nervous every time we push the button. Every time.
That's good.
Wow. Sounds great. Do I have to talk?
Oh, hello, fellas.
The rest of
Hey.
us.
Hey, everybody.
Morning.
Hey, this is Johnny Beane. It's October 29th, 2019. It's 6:00 p.m. out here in California.
Daylight. Look at that.
Daylight.
Woo.
And,
9 p.m. on Long Island, where I'm hanging with my buddy Nesdal. Hey.
Yeah.
I'm Andy Timmons. I'm in McKinney, Texas. And it's 8 o'clock here tonight. I might have had dinner and full disclosure, a lot of Halloween candy. I knew it was a bad idea to go to Walgreens tonight. I told my son, okay, get a pack of gum, nothing else. And I go in, there's the aisle, there's a couple.
Yeah.
How old is he?
He's 15. So, so what we did, we hit the gym and then got a bag of Nestle Crunch and Twixes. It's bad.
That didn't make it home.
Did you make it home? Now it's been depleted slightly though. But anyway, I'll be all sugared up and chatty. Hello.
Thank you, Upside Down. Thank you, brother.
Upside Down. Thank you, dude.
Okay, so we got. I can't even see the chat. But I see lots of hello folks that are here logging in. All right,
ladies and gentlemen, the great Andy Timmons.
Thank you, John Pardo. Well, they've won not the rice-a-roni, the San Francisco treat.
Oh, my favorite.
Come on, who doesn't love rice? Do they still make rice-a-roni?
Yeah.
This is San Francisco treat, but as I remember that because they always talked about that on the game shows.
Houses are the real San Francisco treat.
Although people out here, we don't really eat that though,
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys eat ramen.
Yeah, a lot of ramen. I lived off that. That was my college. Yeah. Nutrition, basically. Yeah. 10 for $1 from the local grocery, right? Enough salt in every one for your whole week, right?
Just add water. The water costs more than the ramen.
Yeah, exactly. You do what you got to do to get by, man. You survive. It's okay. I wasn't too worried about it.
That's why I'm still eating.
That's the hey, man. I hear you. What
about ketchup sandwiches?
We used to do that when we go to Wendy's. We'd call it poor man's fries. We get a burger, but then they used to set out all the crackers for the chili. But we take all the crackers and get ketchup and call it poor man's fries. That's horrible.
That's awesome.
It's not that great, but it's not that bad. You're eating something, right?
That's right. Food is food. Yeah, I usually go to the dumpster behind Wendy's and eat the good stuff.
Like Joey on Friends, ketchup good, crackers good. Meat good. So anyway, hello. That's why all these folks are here to talk about us and our culinary adventures, right?
Oh yeah.
You do a roll call and say hello to everyone.
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, who's in here? We got man, this chat's moving. We got Mr. BHB Jr. I think that's Bruce.
Hello.
Maybe. We got Ben Combs in the house tonight. We got Blank Palette 2. Where am I looking? I've got so many screens here. Benjamin's here, Dwight Bailey, Reza Khan, Lewis, Upside Down. Thank you again, Upside Down. Halface, Bozique, Motor City Axeman, James Gum, Brendan B Squared, aka Butt Cheeks, is here. Alley Cat.
Stick around, Andy. It gets better.
He actually has guitar picks with butt cheeks on the picks.
By the way, Johnny, just so you know, my friend Louis Rios, that's in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
He is the original owner of that polka dot Charvel that mine tries to be.
Oh, the Buddy Guy strap.
Buddy Guy strap.
Oh, nice.
I sense an ongoing theme here. So
it's a running joke.
I'm new here, but I'll catch up.
Yeah, every show there's a running theme. There's inside gags, and if people watch, the regulars know what's going on.
Restraining orders.
We have a lot of fun.
Good. A
lot of fun. Keith Michael's here. Thomas Santiago.
Yeah, Keith Michael, man. Thanks for that email.
Ooh.
No, I got it. In fact, later on off camera, I'll read it to you guys because it has to do with everyone here.
And thanks for those selfies.
Ooh.
Music Therapy Laz. Ask Andy, has he ever jammed with John Petrucci?
Yeah, absolutely. Several times.
Yeah, sure.
I think the first one was at a NAMM show around 1990, either 3 or 4. No, it would have been 94. He was originally an Ibanez endorser, right? He had a signature model back in the day, and
Petrucci was the first Danger guitarist, right?
that was Al Petrelli. You're so close.
Petrelli, you're right.
Al Petrelli, yeah. So no, but John, I think we originally must have met back when he was an Ibanez endorser. So there was one year, '93 was the Axe Attack, right? That was the big night with Sean Lane and Satriani and Vi and Paul Gilbert, Reb Beach and Alan Skolnick. But there was either 92 or 94. There was a live playing booth set up at NAMM. Like a room where the full band. So my band was there. Larry Mitchell played with us, and John Petrucci played. We might have done some Hendrix or something. But then he and I did an Ibanez day at Berkeley College of Music, maybe later that same year. So that was the first couple of times we played together. I'm trying to recall any other jams that we've had. When G3 came through with him, whatever G3 tour that was, we had a great jam night in Fort Worth. In fact, that was the same night that Steve Vai asked me to be a part of his Favored Nations label. So it was right when Steve was starting Favored Nations. And I've told the story a couple of times where I wasn't feeling well that day for whatever reason, what was going on in life or whatever. And I was like, man, I don't know if I'm going to go to the gig, but I should go because it's Satriani, it's these guys, and Steve was going to be there and John. So I went out, and the night ended up turning out great. It was the night that he asked me to take part in his label. So it's one of those things where even if you don't really feel like doing something, sometimes if anything's telling you should go, because you never know what you miss out on just because I'm not in the mood. Or I know it's kind of a weird thing to say when that kind of opportunity is sitting there, but that's things that you go through, right? But that was a special night. So that might have been the last time I jammed with John. So it's been a few years. That would have been the early 2000s, right, when Favored Nations kicked off.
Yeah, Andy, do you know Mike Taft?
Yeah, very well, very well. Mike and I worked together when he worked with Ibanez for many years. He was the main artist relations guy after Rob Nishida at the Ibanez Custom Shop in LA. Yeah. So how do you know Mike?
I don't, but one of our co-hosts, Jay, is in the chat tonight, and he asked that.
Okay, yeah, I know Mike Taft very well, man. We did a lot of work together over the years. He's since left Ibanez now, and I'm not sure exactly where he landed. He may be with another guitar company now, but I'm not sure who that would be.
Our friend Jay, who we just spoke about, was an Ibanez endorsee back then as well.
Okay, what's the name?
Jay Hannon.
Hello, Jay. All right. But John Petrucci, he's obviously just one of the great virtuosos of the electric guitar, but a really sweet guy too. Really, really good person. We've, only played together a few times, but we crossed paths at the NAMM shows, etc. And anyway, really good dude.
He lives about 30 minutes east of me here.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, if you see him at the HEB or the Schnucks or wherever you hear shop, I'm trying to remember. I can't remember any of my because I lived in Queens for about 3 years. I was in Flushing, Queens for about 3 years back in the Danger Day. I'm trying to remember where I shopped. What are the groceries up there?
You probably went up to 48th Street in the city, right?
Oh, absolutely. We went up to 48th Street all the time.
I worked there in the mid 90s. I worked at Manny's. Yeah.
Oh, you were at Manny's. Okay. Well, I'm sure we crossed paths.
We probably had crossed paths.
Well, we did. Well, you mentioned earlier before we went on camera about the time the night you and I jammed with Larry Mitchell.
Yeah.
92.
Yeah, I think it was 92.
You remember the guitar I was playing?
I remember a lot of the guitars that you play, man. You're part of the reason why I play guitar.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
No, that was as you were bringing it up. I actually do remember the night. There's so many things that people will bring up in passing along the road. Hey, remember that time in 1987 when you and I? Man, I wish I did. So just sometimes these things get cleared from the hard drive somehow, or maybe never stayed there in the first place. Who knows?
But you do remember?
I do remember that night. Yeah.
You do remember the $40 you owe me, right?
I will never forget the $40. How could I forget? You gotta bring that up every time, man. What the heck?
You
it's like
$40. Just give him the black hollow flash. I'll call it even.
It's like that $2 plus tip newspaper boy and Better Off Dead.
Oh,
it's like $2.
Okay, I don't. It's a reference. Movie references are going to be tough for me because I don't see a lot. I did see. See what now?
I'll send you the DVD.
Give me the DVD. Perfect. Okay, great.
Nice.
Sweet.
Yeah. So it was that first time that I met you.
Okay.
It was in 92. Yeah, it was 92, and it was because of Larry Mitchell. You were meeting Larry Mitchell out on Long Island.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was driving him everywhere. We were buddies. We're still buddies.
Yeah.
But, it's he said, well, we're going to go this place. And I said, okay. He says, we're going to meet Andy Timmons. I'm like, Andy Timmons? Wow, that's cool. And it ended up that I played Little Wing with you that night at this open jam. And I'll never forget it. First of all, I'll never forget that RG that you were using, a black RG with purple DiMarzio pickups in it. That
was my main guitar at that time. That was very tail end of Danger, because Kramer went out of business and I started working with Ibanez. And that was really the first guitar that they made for me that was, okay, this is working. This is really has a thing to it. And that's the guitar that was on the Carpe Diem and Busta Soda, Hiroshima, and the original Cry for You on Your Ecstasy. That would have been that guitar.
What pickups were in that? Do you remember?
They're DiMarzios. I don't remember what they were, but they were some of the hotter. I don't know if they were tone zones or what they were. I just remember they were purple. I remember that, but no, I don't remember exactly. I don't remember what's exactly in that. But somebody out there probably knows.
Mm-hmm.
That was a nice guitar. I mean, eventually, obviously, I gravitated more towards the traditional Stratty setup they ended up being the AT100. But that guitar was great. I enjoyed it, and it still had the Floyd on it, right?
Yeah.
Because there were some guitars that they made for me around that time where they were all coming with their version of the Floyd or whatever.
The Edge tremor.
I was getting tired of fighting the Floyd and the tuning and all that, and it's a cool thing. But I started having them take those out. They put a block of wood in there and just put a stop tailpiece. Like when we did the third Danger record that eventually was called Cockroach. That was a jewel blue RG bodied one like that. I lost you guys, by the way.
No, that's on purpose. It's on purpose. Just
spotlight.
Hello. Well, the guitar we're talking about was the one. It was one made around the same time as that. The purple, with the purple pickup black guitar, and but it was a jewel blue one. But we took the Floyd off and put a stop tailpiece. And that's when I went to tens as far as strings go. You went up a gauge, and I remember my fingers were not happy for a while. But that's the guitar that was mainly used on that Cockroach Danger record.
What happened to that guitar?
I still have both of those. The jewel blue I still have.
The black with the purple?
I still have that. Absolutely, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, no, that's actually a nice guitar. And in fact, some of these guitars I bring back out. I have a guitar website called it's called guitarexperience.net. No E before the X, so guitarexperience.net. It's like a subscription lesson site. And I'm going through my entire back catalog month by month. I have a song of the month. When I did Puppet Show, I brought out that Holoflash sustain. I don't know if you saw a video of that.
I did too, yeah. I was drooling on that. I was like,
oh, man. Yeah, so for Carpe Diem, I think I can't remember if we released it or not, but I brought back that original black guitar with the purple pickups just because, okay, it's got to be when I can play the original guitar used on the original recording, I do that, right? So anyway, I bring some of the vintage stuff out occasionally, right?
That's nice.
That was off of Screw It, right? Puppet Show?
That was the guitar feature on the Spirit record, yeah.
Great stuff.
But that was a fun time because for me because when I joined Danger, the first record was done essentially, and they were going in to remix it. They had mixed the first record, they weren't happy with it. In that time, they recruited me to join the band, and
you replaced Tony Bruno Red.
Tony never really joined the band. Whatever the reason, Al Picciarelli parted with Danger after they were signed. Right. Al had played the demos, great player, and he's a good friend of ours. When they went separate ways, and then they brought Tony in, he was signed with Soraya, right? Band on there. I think they were on Polygram, a really great band. And so, but Tony agreed just to come in and do the tracks for the record, which he'd done a great job on. They hired Mike Stone of Queen and Journey and everybody else fame, Whitesnake, and mixed all these great rock records. So he got hired to come in and remix the entire record. So in that time, mixing at Skip Saylor Studios in LA, as a token for me, they let me recut a couple solos that Tony had already done, but thought, it'd be nice to get Andy on the record. And for me, that moment was truly kind of the dream realized. It was one thing to join a band, on a major label, but just to be on the record, I was coming more from the session-y Steve Lukather, Carlton sideman, just want to be on the record. You know what I mean? So that was a special time. But obviously then when the second record came and I was able to be on the entire process, that meant a lot as well. So a lot of fond memories from that time and recording those records.
I remember Bruno telling me, and this is again back at the very beginning, that you had a lot of buzz around you
Yeah.
as a studio guitarist.
Yeah. Well,
they were so happy to get you.
wow.
And they wanted you on some part of the record, sure.
Right. I guess that maybe that was the case. Yeah, it was a thing where they just kind of put word out. And it was actually Buddy Blaze, who was the main artist relations guy at Kramer, that he heard of me back here in Texas because he's from here, and found out there. Well, but before, if you know the story, it wasn't Danger wasn't the first band that came knocking. It was Bad English. And that was
cool.
That was the Buddy Blaze. The Bad English was forming. They'd done demos with Neil Sean. It's the band with John Waite and Jonathan and Ricky Phillips, the bass player who had been with John Waite and the Babies. They were forming this like little super group, right? Well, Neil had gotten a solo deal on Columbia for a record that was called Late Night. So I'm assuming that he didn't want to commit to Bad English, but he did the demos. But then they were searching for a permanent player, and this demo tape that I had done with the Andy Timmons band had It's Getting Better and a couple other songs on it. Through Buddy Blaze, he said, "Hey, they're looking for a player." I said, they were looking for maybe a bluesy rock guy. So we thought Texas is the place. He called a journalist out here that had heard of me, and that was it. It was word of mouth. I sent the tape to Jonathan Cain, and he called me and said, "Hey, love your tape. Come out and play." I fly to San Francisco, actually, where they were rehearsing out there. And I played and I got the gig. John Waite's driving me to the airport. Hey, man, unless you lose a finger, man, you got the gig, mate. And all was hunky dory. And then I get a call say, well, come out. We're going to rehearse for a week, kind of like a trial week. In the middle of that week, Neil Sean called and said, "Hey, I'm reconsidering, doing the band." So then they told me at that point, well, we're going to spend a week with Neil, see how it goes. Then we'll let you know, kid, So it was kind of obvious. How can I compete with half of Journey together, right? It was right after that Buddy Blaze with Kramer Guitars was like, well, there's this other band. I know some friends of mine, Danger. They're signed to Epic. They're looking for a player, and that's how that kind of came to be. All these things kind of started happening at once. At that very same time, I haven't told the story many times, but it came up the other day because of Laura Branigan came across my path for whatever reason. That Tower Power was also looking for a guitar player because their lead guitar player was going to play with Laura Branigan, and the tenor player Steve Grove was a friend of mine I'd gone to school with in Miami, and so Steve invited me to come sit in with Tower Power in Dallas, and I went out and sat in, and they offered me the gig right when Danger had asked, right, and so that's one of those forks in the road, like, man, what do I do, But the lure of rock and roll and MTV, I guess, called, and here we are sitting talking about it all these years later. But these little paths that come, little decisions you have to make along the way. Good problems to have. I'm not.
And Danger was already signed. They signed when Al was part of the band.
I believe Al was in the band when they were signed. He did all the original demos. Yeah. So I'm not really sure what didn't work out there. Whether it was producer or A&R guy, I don't know. But I wasn't part of all that. So.
And then Al went where, to Cooper, or
I guess one of the next things he did, yeah. And then we were opening for Alice Cooper with Al and Alice Cooper. We did that Trash tour in 1990.
And Pete Friesen, I remember.
Pete Friesen, that's right. Yeah,
Pete, I'm friends.
That's a great band, man. Tell Pete I said hey.
Well,
absolutely, man. Good. That fond memories too. Derek Sherinian was the keyboard player.
Wow.
And hello, and it's going to come to me. Drummer from Kiss. Hello. Eric Singer was on drums at that time too.
Wow. And you guys did a huge tour with Kiss.
Yes, that's later that same year we did the part of the Hot in the Shade tour.
Yeah, with Bruce Kulick and
Eric Carr. That was Eric Carr's last tour. That's right. And I mean that talk about childhood dream come true. My first concert was Kiss in 1976. I saw them on the Destroyer tour. So,
everyone wants to play with Kiss.
I mean, come on, how you can't be mad at that, right? So and Steve and Bruno and Ted, we were all just uber fans. So to get that opportunity, and it just went so great. And Gene and Paul were, they're true professionals, but they're funny guys, and they treated us great. I mean, obviously I was kind of the outlier, whereas the rest of the band were all New Yorkers, and of course Kiss being New Yorkers, there was a camaraderie that was very natural there, I think, between those guys, and they treated us great, man. I treasure those times. So we we did. I don't remember how many days, but we did a good run. With Slaughter was the middle group on the bill, and then we later did in '92 we did 10 shows on a UK tour during the Revenge tour. So we got asked back to do some more gigs with them. That was pretty cool. I got a picture somewhere of me playing the original Iceman cracked mirror guitar.
Oh, that's cool.
He brought that out for that tour, and I got to play that guitar. I was so excited.
Was that the point you made the right decision when you're touring with Alice Cooper and you're touring with Kiss, and you're like, yeah, this was probably the right road to take?
I never look back. There's no point in that. I mean, there's just different roads, and there's no doubt about it. Where, the Tower of Power thing might have been more the player cred kind of thing, right? But then there's this childhood fantasy rock and roll thing, and both worlds are both attractive to me, and it's kind of something that I'm really glad that the Danger thing happened when it did, because I was old enough and young enough to really recognize it for what it was. How special that it was. I didn't take it for granted during the time. You know what I mean? Because I guess when I joined the band, what would it have been? 88, 89. So I was, in my early 20s, mid 20s. And so like I say, young enough and old enough to appreciate it. And then after it had its run and that era kind of had its run, then I just kind of went back to what I was doing before that, which was, more aligned with, wanting to be Mike Stern and Miles Davis's band or Joe Satriani, you know what I mean? Or players of that ilk, or Eric Johnson, so no, it's but what a great opportunity, to have then gotten open for these heroes of ours, that's.
And you guys at the time were getting a lot of comparisons to Bon Jovi, who obviously were massive at the time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we were definitely chasing some tails. I mean, we love Bon Jovi, we love Def Leppard and the Mutt Lange effect or whatever.
Yeah, and with Casey on the keyboards, that was also the way the band was lined up as far as instruments. You guys got a lot of comparisons.
No doubt about it, and that's great. I mean, that's who that's the impetus of that band was certainly kind of shooting for that kind of thing, and we did pretty good there for a while. It got a lot better.
Hits, I'll tell you that.
That was one of the things that I saw. The business side of what was happening. We'd go up to the record label and all that. We'd see. It just dawned on me. It's like, this has nothing to do with why I play music. This is it's a corporate business. It is what it is. I'll never forget. We were in a meeting with all the presidents and heads of the labels, and then some secretary comes in to ask one of the label. I'm just keeping people's names out of this just to protect whatever. And I've got a question about this particular band, and the person goes, "Don't worry about them." And I knew right then that all these lives were just totally affected, right? Like, oh, don't worry about promoting their record or whatever that meant. I knew it wasn't good. And it was just like, oh man, I just wanted to play guitar and
you learn the business end was like Sheriff Roscoe dealing with Boss Hogg. 10% of 1% of
yeah. Well, there is that, and traditionally, musicians traditionally get taken advantage of along the way because they're not in it for all that. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to keep the lights on, you got to pay bills, and I've been fortunate that somehow I continued to make a living doing what I do with this guitar, but. It was. I called. You could go to music school all day, but kind of being inside of it and seeing how it was working, it was massively, informational into how I've conducted the rest of my career, especially when it comes to recording the music that I want to record and owning that music. Because that third record that I mentioned earlier, the Cockroach record, was recorded in 92, 93, and then it didn't officially come out until
93.
Yeah,
it came out in 2003 because of the whole.
Yeah, well, the band, running up against the Rap in Seattle thing to start with, and then Ted left the band. There were lawsuits, even though they hired
Paul Lane.
Paul Lane came in and did a wonderful job, re-singing the record. So there's two versions of the record, but eventually they just decided not to release the record, and then made it impossible virtually for us to get the record to release it. I said, why would you ever work so hard and put your soul into something that doesn't belong to you? So after that, I went back to Texas. I finished the recordings that became Ear Ecstasy, and I swear to you, I didn't even send it to a record label. I pressed my own copies. There was an ad in Guitar Player magazine that was endorsing a Hughes and Kettner product, and that they were kind enough to put a little mail order thing in the bottom for my CD. That was it. I mean, I eventually got some licensing deals, for the record by labels that saw it. Say, hey, why didn't you send me this record? It's like, I don't want any part of that, So it worked out fine, and then just the career kind of kept going from there. But again, it was never. I've always said, anytime I've made decisions based on business, if it was contrapuntal to what my heart was telling me, it was never the right decision. So, I live by that credo to this day, and it tends to work out pretty good somehow.
You did really good. You're doing great.
Yeah, I'm still here. Hey, we're still here. I call this bonus tracks. We're doing all right, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Red Beach called the 90s the dark times.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, yeah, depending on how you look at life and trends, if you're referencing trends and all that. But yeah, to me, it's all great, because I never want to be stuck doing one thing. I'm happy to do whatever I'm doing at the time, but I do like to move on. I like to change. I might come back, but I love to grow. I love to learn, and just kind of keep evolving in some way. Once and that's something that I've kind of even further cultivated later in my life, where over the years, I wasn't really a practicing musician like I had been maybe when I was in college, because I was a classical major my first 2 years of college. I was a jazz guitar major at University of Miami for a couple of years, all the while playing in bands, like since I was 13. That was always happening. So, but then life, your career keeps going, and life gets busier and busier, and the process of being a student and really practicing every day and whatever, working on tunes, or I was always playing and writing. But once I got back into really being more of a studying, be it transcribing or playing more jazz or whatever was going to challenge me, when I did that on a consistent basis, and this is really coming back in the last 6 or 7 years, I really started to notice a level of being a happier person, just because, I felt like I was honoring my gift in a higher way, as opposed to just kind of, always keeping busy and always working, always writing. But I felt like I was really, making more progress. And then I just realized that was helping my spirit in general, so it's a work in progress, but I'm enjoying it more now than I think I ever have, to be honest.
But you're one of those 80s guitarists, one of the few 80s guitarists like Steve Vai, like Satch, like a few others that have really just come of age into your own right now as a solo artist and with your own band, just totally, really, really working.
Yeah, no, I feel extremely fortunate. And there's a lot of it that I have nothing to do with, aside from, like I say, kind of honoring whatever it is that I'm, trying to do on the instrument, and whatever abilities I have, it's up to me to cultivate that and to make music with it. Right. But so much of it is just because of what's happened with the internet. I don't have MTV, I don't have radio stations, but there's fans, there's people that, it reminds me of something Elvis Costello said in an interview once, where, giving advice for songwriters. He says, well, if you just really do what's true to yourself, at some point, somebody's going to discover it at the bottom of the ocean. However, he said it was very Elvis Costello-like and very, very poetic and very deep, but I got what he meant. It's like, if there's really some merit to it, people will find it. And, and that's what, people, with the advent of the internet, people certainly early on were asking, well, is this a good or a bad thing? And I would always mention a guy like Andy Mckee, who, was this brilliant, acoustic player. I'm sorry, Andy, for forgetting where he grew up. It might have been Arkansas, it might have been Oklahoma, but a relatively out of the way place. It was like, you don't need a record label anymore. But if you have something of that level of musicality and originality to offer, we all have the ability now. I'm sitting in my office, we can broadcast to the world if there's something there that, has some value to it. So yeah, the whole, internet versus record industry that can be a whole nother discussion, but that's the one thing that's heartening. Aside from, obviously, now we have to figure out how to make a living doing it. But the bottom line is, you want to play music for people, and then the wish and the hope is that they enjoy it and it means something to them. And that's still what drives me, as opposed to, getting a big gig and making lots of money.
Because we don't want money, and you know,
we gotta obviously, you know. So right, it's but yeah, and especially since my son was born too. You know, I'm married now for 23 years. This coming Saturday, and 15-year-old son. So I make my decisions especially since he was born. I make decisions like what's going to take me away from my family too much or not. You know, so I've had to turn down some gigs here and there, but you know, it's.
Happy anniversary, by the way.
Thank you. 23 is pretty good, right?
hey,
That's damn good.
Hey, who's your buddy? Who's your buddy, Johnny?
This is Howie.
Howie, what's up?
This is Howie the Dalmatian.
Howie wears the thong. He's a male dancer.
Oh, look, I see. I like his rig. What's happening there, man? Is that?
There
We
he
all,
is.
we all have dogs.
He'll be 17 in January.
Oh, right on, man.
17-year-old Dalmatian.
Dang. Hey, Howie.
There
All
he
right.
goes.
Pass
And
it through.
we got Ned the cat right there, and I think
Hey,
he's
I've
like
barely seen that. Okay.
he's like a year or I don't know. We just got him like a couple months ago.
He looks like he's chill. Yeah, he's doing proper cat things. You heard him say him.
On a seizure.
That's a cat stretch fever. That's a cat snacks fever. Or my brother thinks food for the kiddies. Food for the kiddies. All the cat hits, you know.
Fever. It's great.
We'll do some Cat
Oh.
Stevens later. We'll do yeah.
And also, I have chickens.
You have chickens?
I have chickens, and that reminds me, it's dark out, so I got to go tuck them into their coop.
You tuck them into their coop.
Yeah,
It's a kinky.
Chicken tucking. I bet they like
yeah,
that.
yeah. So I'll be right.
He doesn't love a good tuck. Hey, who do you got there? Oh, who's that guy?
Snickers. This is our Dalmatian. This is our Chihuahua.
That's the shortest Dalmatian ever.
For Halloween.
And I have a black lab here somewhere.
Yeah, how do you lose that? Or somewhere?
Yeah.
She's here behind us, I believe.
Oh, that's cute.
Right down behind.
I have 3 cats, but they're locked out of the office right now. They've been communicated. I'm sorry to say.
I have a cat here too, but these two, they're both highly allergic. So.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that could be an issue for sure. Your little guy's name again? I'm sorry.
This is Snickers,
Snickers.
and my lab is Brandy.
Snickers and brandy sounds like a tasty combo. Right. Aw.
I call my little guy Herman. I don't
Herman?
even have a dog.
Hey, I don't even know what's going on with that.
So I lost the AT100 and gained a dog. I don't understand.
That's okay. Well, I'm digging the dog quite a bit.
Great. So, just 2 things real quick. Our friend Jasco Plumbing Supply in the chat
Yeah.
spoke to you and hung out with you at the Vi Academy this year. Says,
Oh, right on.
is your G string out of tune?
Always. Yeah, that's right. Because if it was out of tune, I had to give the guitar away. I think that was the running joke there. So, yeah, I think your G string's a little flat there, Andy. Yeah, just give me that guitar back.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a blast, man! What a awesome camp that was. I love doing all those camps, but that was a particularly good one.
The running joke, our sponsor, Bang Energy Drink, in the chat, they're going bang bang.
Oh no!
What's that? Bang bang.
It's been a minute.
That's so funny.
You know,
John,
Union show.
you what now?
Recently, I watched that. Remember you were telling me the reunion show. I watched that 25th anniversary reunion show with you and Casey. That was perfect.
Yeah, we only did one gig in the States. We had 3 in Japan and 1, and the impetus for the whole thing was the Fire Fest, which was like a hairband festival in Birmingham, England. That was they were the ones that instigated. Okay, we want you guys to play, but it's got to be all the original members. Oh, great!
It was nice seeing you and Casey there.
I love it. No, come on, that was a lot of fun, right?
That was great.
The best. Okay, the best. I mean, the shows were fun, no doubt about it. The best moment was the first day of rehearsal, where those 5 guys in the room together. Who,
First time in 25 years.
I mean, it's been a long, right? It'd been a long time, but it's like, a day hadn't passed. Like all the same shtick was all there, the same jokes, the same, so it was as George Harrison once said in the Beatles anthology, you cut a deep groove with each other. You spend because that it was only 3-4 years together, but it's a pretty intense time because you're traveling together. And I was living with Casey,
Sure.
so we spent a lot of time together. So, it was a lot of fun. There's a lot of camaraderie there.
I saw you guys had immediate chemistry again on stage. It was a terrific show. It was in Amityville, New York.
That's right. Yeah.
Back to where everyone started, or most of you guys started.
Yeah. Place.
Amityville. What was the name of the place? I forgot. It was August of 2014.
Wow.
Oh, could it have been Revolution?
I'm not sure.
It's on the corner of Main Street and 110.
I don't remember the place. I remember the date. I remember the show.
Yeah.
Well, you would have to remember the show.
Good show. It's on YouTube. If
I remember the first Danger gig was a club called Reds. Remember
that was where?
That was also Long Island, Reds. I don't remember what town though.
I remember Sundance. That's where I met him.
That was a huge gig. Yeah,
that was a great gig.
We must have played there at least because we did one show, then we did another with Faster Pussycat years later.
Yes, I remember. Tammy Down was sitting on the stage with the little angel wings.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Singing, what was the song? House of Pain.
Oh, yeah.
This little black angel wings.
It's a great song. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That was a nice tour. But actually, that was the tour that the drummer got busted for he was getting things FedEx to him that he shouldn't have. And Steve West actually had to. We were in Kansas City when the guy got busted, so Steve West played drums with Faster Pussycat the first night. But then they brought in Frankie Banali.
Frankie, and we wish Frankie well.
We wish Frankie. I know he's having some health issues, so yes.
Yeah, we wish Frankie.
Sending him lots of strength and healing, and wishing him well for sure. Yeah, great drummer, great guy.
And speaking
his
of
mom was awesome too. His mom was always coming out to the gigs. Really sweet lady. Yeah.
Speaking of Steve West, do you remember? See how good your memory is. Do you remember who Steve was dating at the time of these shows?
At which shows?
At the early Sundance shows and early arena shows.
I don't necessarily recall. I don't.
Kelsey Grammer's wife.
I have no idea who that is.
Fraser?
Mrs. Grammer? I don't know. I know who Kelsey Grammer is, but
right. He married and she became one of the Real Housewives of Los Angeles or Beverly Hills.
Okay, I have no idea.
I remember he was dating. It was a blonde girl, very busty, because that was what
this really narrows it down, John. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. Believe me, I was at those shows.
Steve, right? Okay. Sorry, Steve, but yeah, this was a trend. It might have been a trend. Yeah.
Hey, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk in
It's a family show.
Let's talk in cars.
It's not a family show.
So, you often say when you talk about your AT100, your main one.
Yes.
You often say that the neck profile that you took it off of a favorite guitar of yours.
Yes.
What was the guitar? Because you
guitar
never said.
It was I have said, and depending on the interview, but it was a Kramer. It had a Kramer sticker on it, but it was put together at the Kramer factory, but it was just parts. It was like, I don't know if it was Warmoth or Chandler, but it was some kind of basic parts guitar, and I wanted a guitar that looked like Eric Johnson's 54 Strat.
Yeah,
that's what that was all about. And so it's in a case upstairs, but it was a tobacco burst Strat basically. And it just had this unfinished maple neck that was so special, but it was just brand new parts. But I remember literally the guy's name was Steve Plunkett at the time.
Sure. Steve Plunkett. Yeah.
From the Kramer guy.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. We're Kramer people. I have
okay. So Buddy was no longer there at that point. I guess it was Steve that was dealing with me and stuff. And we remember we took the guitar, we were throwing it around the room and trying to relic it, trying to scuff it up. We took a little sander to it. It was so stupid. But anyway, the chickens are okay.
Yeah, all accounted for.
Johnny looked very satisfied. What happened?
Oh man.
Anyway, we're just catching up. So that the impetus for that 1800 was the parts Strat that Kramer put together, but had really nothing to do with Kramer except they put the Kramer headstock.
Right.
I mean the Kramer logo on the
Yeah.
on the generic Fender headstock.
Very
Yep.
cool.
That was
What are your favorite types of Fenders? I know we've talked about this. You love the vintage Strats. What do you like? The pre-CBS stuff, or
I mean, it's really the thing about Strats is that there's good ones and there's not good ones. You know, there's some sound great and some don't. My favorite Strat for years was an '84 Squire that I bought when it was brand new. You know, I was in a cover band in Miami, and you needed something with a Strat sound because Nile Rodgers was, you know, the king at the time, and we were playing Madonna and dance tunes and whatever. So, like so many people, I got this. That was the only Strat I could afford because at the time they were like $300. It was the first year. It was the first year that Japan made the Squire Strat.
Yep.
And I put EMGs in it because of my fondness of Steve Lukather and for the quietness of the pickups as well. But the guitar just sounded good and it played good. So I've played some vintage Strats that don't seem to have the mojo. I'm fortunate now that I've got a couple of pieces. I've got that 65 that I mentioned. Might have been before we went on camera. You've seen me play a white vintage Strat on some YouTube videos, and it's one I found on eBay. You know, I say relatively affordable, but way lower than what a normal 65 Strat would be because it had some issues. It had been poorly refinished and it had some chunks out of the neck. I don't know how it happened, but it was in not the best playing shape. But I sent it to a guy named Chad Underwood, and Lexington, Kentucky did an amazing job refurbishing it. And it just happens to be an amazing sounding guitar. And then there was one when we were recording the what became the theme from a Perfect World record. And we were doing a song called On Your Way, Sweet Soul. And it just really called for a vintagey Strat kind of sound. And a friend of mine.
That's number 10, isn't it?
That's the last track. That's right.
I love that.
So we literally at one day we had over 20 Strats in the studio. We just like everybody we knew, bring them over. We're gonna try all these guitars, right? And we tried all these, but there's a good friend of mine named Sam Swank, who's a wonderful player, and he's a luthier and repairman in Dallas. And he had a client that had brought in a 62 Strat. So this one's pretty cool. Bring it over. He brings it over. Wasn't that great? We kept trying all these things. I didn't have the 65 at that point. So we still hadn't found the sound. The next day, another client has brought in a 1960 hardtail. He says, I think you need to hear this. And he brings it over. And instantly we knew this is the sound, right? Well, the guy happened to be a collector of sorts. And this was one of many, many vintage guitars that he had. So, you know, I was able to not give it back. So I kind of held on to that one. Now we came to a nice agreement, and it worked out through. I was able to hold on to that one. So again, I wish I had a bazillion awesome vintage guitars, but I'm very fortunate to have two old Strats that I really, really love a lot. Mm-hmm. I feel very, very fortunate to have acquired those over time.
Do you go when you tour? Do you go to like vintage guitar stores wherever you are and just go hunting?
I try to when there's time. I also like to just go to record stores if I can find a place that's got old vinyl, anything music related. But it's obviously it's harder these days. It's like you can't even go to the mall and go to a record store anymore. You know, it's like
because there are none.
Yeah.
There's there's part of me that really misses the process of going someplace and buying music. That was a bit of a drug, you know. It was something I really missed that transactional part of not being able to just get whatever you want all the time. You know, it's awesome. And yeah, it's great to have that access to all this incredible stuff. But there was times when, you know, I liked taking weeks to like find something or, you know, track it down or wait for it to come out and then go buy it.
You so still can, like in Amoeba Records in Hollywood.
Yeah. I mean, I still go to record shops. I do go to guitar stores when I can. It's just fun to go check things out and browse around a little bit.
And vinyl, surprisingly, is making a bit of a comeback.
It's incredible. I'm so happy about that. Yeah, I mean, I've got a record player set up in my office now, and so I love to get out the vinyl and check it out. What did you pick up there, David? That looks like a Larry Mitchell guitar.
It is Larry Mitchell's guitar.
I recognize that guitar.
He gave this to me. I was in the hospital in 2008. I had some bad health issues, and when I first met Larry, this guitar was all white at the time. I first met him through a friend, and I thought this is the coolest guitar in the world. And he let me play it. Like the first time I met him, he shook my hand. He said, "Oh, you want to check out my guitar? Go ahead." And I did, and we became friends really fast. And I started teching for him, And then I played in his one of his bands for a little while, and I like every time I'd go to his place, I'd pick this guitar up. Like this was my favorite guitar to play of his. Of course, it was his main guitar.
Wow.
So, so 1998, I'm in the hospital. He calls me, and he didn't know I was in the hospital. So,
wow.
So I said, "Yeah, I'm sick. I'm blah blah blah," and he says, "Well, do you know when you're going to be home?" I said, "I don't know, probably sometime next week on a Tuesday or something." He says, "Okay, well, when you get there, there's going to be a gift, a big box there for you, and just handle it with care and take care of it."
Yeah,
and it was this, and it's
beautiful.
One of my cherished favorite guitars on the planet.
Well, as it should be. That's beautiful, man.
Yeah,
very cool. But Larry to me is very difficult. He's a very hard person to get along with. Most people, I think most people would say that. No, I mean he is not only a phenomenal musician, but he is one of the sweetest, most caring guys. I mean, thank you for sharing that story because it aligns with everything that I know about Larry and feel about him. Just an amazing person, man.
Yeah,
really, really sweet. And it comes out in his playing. He plays how he is, right? That's just how and that's the ultimate praise that I can give to any musician if they're really just being themselves to the instrument. That's but he achieves that every time I've seen him, every single time.
Yeah, it's amazing. And the thing that I love. I mean, I love his playing, but the thing I love most about his playing is the constant smile on his face.
Yeah, there's no pretension.
He's never pissed off. He's never upset. And when he is, you'd never know because he's exudes happy.
Yeah,
it's just
that's
amazing.
right.
But yeah, I thought you did out of this.
And he spreads it wherever he goes, right? He takes that with him, and that's what we need these days more than ever.
Yeah, I've got a few more of these to show you during the show. We'll do some more.
The train's arriving right now, full of guitars. That's what that noise is. Junction.
That's right.
What?
So tell us the story about the ATZ. And how that came about.
Sure. The ATZ basically, I guess they were going to launch a line where they were getting into the roasted maple necks, etc. And they thought of, well, obviously my guitar was a candidate to try that on. So they basically just came to me and said, "Hey, we would like to do a version of your guitar kind of in this line." The one I'm holding now is a prototype, actually, that the ATZ, that's the production guitar, has three. Thank you for the zoom. Has the 3 single coil, but they're cruiser humbuckers essentially, but they're single coil space, right? This one is modified to have my AT1 humbucker in it, but it's essentially the same neck profile as my original AT100. So it's got a very vintagey, stratty thing about it, and they come with the stainless steel frets, which I'm back and forth about. I like them, but I do like the original nickel as well. But it's the same hardware, tremolo, and tuners. But I love also the kind of the vintage looking matte finish. It looks kind of like a vintage guitar, which is always attractive, And you have to do your own relicking. Everybody sees this because the Florentines are less pointy, and the headstock has been softened a little bit. If you look at if I can do this without knocking anything over. Here's the original guitar. You can see the pointier kind of RG body and the original headstock, and this part of the pick guard, I noticed over time was kind of curling up, and then one day it was gone. It just kind of broke off. So not Tom broke off, but the pick guard broke off.
Those days.
Yeah, and so so people started coming. Hey, I can make. Why don't you get that fixed? I can get you a new one. It's like, what? Yeah, get it refinished too while I'm at it. Why would you? I've earned the wear on the guitar, And now I see I've got another crack appearing here. So we may need to get some help one day. But
Soda in the chat is asking, is that a roasted maple neck?
The original one, no. The original one is just a 25-year-old neck that got played a lot, and it's been refretted 8 times. But the ATZ is a roasted maple, yes. So this one that I'm holding now is a roasted maple, but the old one's just an unfinished neck. It got played a lot.
Andy, I may need to ask you a favor at some point, and I may need to get some pictures.
It's going to cost you $40.
No, I'll tell you what. I'll pay the $40.
Yeah, Dave and I met at a truck stop glory hole. So
Hey, oh, here we go. Ouch.
So last time I saw you at the
donut place. Yeah, okay. That's a donut place in Red Bank, New Jersey. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. I told you that I wanted to make my guitar a replica of yours.
Okay.
So at some point, I may ask if you could send me some pictures of maybe the wear on the back of your guitar so I can replicate it.
There was a guy that did a really good photographic documentation of it, and I need to see if I can find that file. I may have the photos somewhere for you to check out.
Okay.
Yeah, we can make that happen.
Cool.
Who wanted the replica?
Me.
Oh, you. Hello.
I wanted to turn mine. I wanted to turn mine.
Oh, okay. Oh, I got you.
Minus the playing, of course. But
Yeah, well,
I wonder if you'll break off part of the pick guard.
somebody brought that up the other day. It's like I was in a guitar shop with an older gentleman who was a collector, then a mutual friend of ours who didn't really know much about guitars, but was mystified by the relic phenomenon. You know, you pay extra for that. What, you know? It's like,
well,
I honestly, I don't have a problem with it. It's that there was some relics we were seeing for a while there from Fender that had finish over the relic. It's like, what is this? I don't understand that process. But anyway, I mean, if somebody wants to buy a guitar that looks like it's already been played, I have no problem with that.
But that's the thing. If it looks like real wear, we're cool with it. But we've seen some that look like thrown down flights of stairs, and
that was my Kramer.
Where the real guitar would never see.
Exactly. Yeah.
I hear you.
Well, this one is earned relicking for sure. That one
absolutely 100%.
I started off the team, but I have this. It was actually through Billy Bush. We talked about him earlier. My old roommate back in the New York and the Denton, Texas days.
Mm-hmm.
He worked for he somehow through Fender got me a relic in the late '90s when they were first doing that. So they did one in Sonic Blue for me, like the George Harrison and John Lennon had matching Sonic Blue Strats.
Nice.
Right on.
In the mid '60s. So just like the Nowhere Man Strat, right? So they reliced it a bit. I thought this looks so cool. You know, something very sexy about the old vintage guitar look. You know,
I like where they relic where you can never reach on a guitar with real wear. Like your elbow somehow does this. And, how'd that get worn through?
That's right. Difficult.
Played for 40 years, it'll never get a wear spot there.
All right, we got show and tell going here. What else you got there, David? What you got?
This is a 1989 Gem 777V. I'm sorry, and this guitar was given to me by him.
Hey, another really nice guitar gifter.
I had worked a deal through another friend of mine who had a Red Beach RB2.
Voyager
RB2.
The real expensive
RBM2
with the Koa with the EMGs.
Right.
And I worked it out so that John could get it at a ridiculous price.
Nice.
$2.
$2?
$40.
$42.50.
So like a couple weeks later, this just showed up to my house with a note to say, "Thank you for the gift. Thank you for helping me out."
I'm the biggest jerk on the internet. I'm the only guy that has not given you a guitar.
There's still time.
I see where this is all leading. It's like, damn, we're gonna guilt him into giving him something.
Andy, I'm just cultivating a friendship. That's all I want.
You already have that.
Very open.
We got to tell the story of David at the Iridium.
Oh yes, you want me to tell? You
tell him. It's a very sweet story.
Some of us here have heard it before. So I have to thank my friend Mike Rocker, and he's a guy I went to high school with, and we haven't spoken since high school. And recently, he contacts me and said, "I heard you repair guitars and fix guitars." So I said, "Yeah, I do. I do setups and everything." So he gives me one of his guitars to set up. And I did it, I didn't charge him a lot. I didn't charge him normal rate. But anyway, I did it, and he loved the guitar. He says, Andy Timmons is playing next month at the Iridium. I'm like, oh, cool. He says, are you going? I said, well, I wasn't planning on it. It's funny. Every time someone says, well, are you doing this? Well, I wasn't planning on it.
Yeah, right.
You did the same thing to me. Anyway, so he says, I tell you what, why don't you, I'll buy some tickets. You and your fiance can go, and I'm going. So we can all go together. I said, that's great. I'll drive in and, whatever.
Sure.
So we go to the Andy Timmons concert on the first night of the early show. And I'm thinking I'm going to bring my guitar and see if maybe Andy will take some pictures with me with it.
Right.
And that's I figured, at the Iridium, most artists between sets, they visit their crowd and take pictures and sign autographs. So maybe I can get Andy to do that. So we get there, and I'm sitting in the front row, right in front of his bass player, Mike.
Yep.
And
hello, by the way.
With my guitar and my gig bag, and the set was just ridiculous. How good it was! It was just great.
If you've never seen Andy live, we all recommend take a moment, get tickets, check him out. He's insane live.
And this isn't the first time I've seen him in that club, but it was just so special.
Oh man!
And it's between sets now, and he's in the back of the club, and the line is forming, and I'm disabled. I can hardly walk. I can walk, but I'm like I can't stand in one spot.
You were doing better than you were doing at the Vi camp, weren't you?
Yeah, much better. It was a better time for me. Good. But so it's my turn online. I'm lugging my guitar case, and he's like, and Andy's looking at me like, "What's this guy doing?" Which is
what's going on in my head, by the way.
I said, Andy, I don't know if you remember me, but I met you at the Vi Academy. I said, I saw you at the Vi Academy. He's like, yeah, I put my guitar in your hands for like a half hour.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah,
Security.
That's me. So I said, I brought mine with me. Would you like to take a look at it? And so he pulls it out of the case and says, I love it. It feels like my guitar. He felt the neck. He's like, I love this neck. Yeah. And I said, well, would you mind taking a picture? And he says, well, you see how long that line is? Can't do it right now. But are you going to stay for the second set? And I said, I wasn't planning on it. And I said,
what's the plan? Here we go.
Yeah. So I said, I think I can make that happen. So I go back to Desiree and I said, can we stay for the second set? He'll if we stay, maybe he'll have some time to take some pictures later. And she's like, absolutely. It's our anniversary. Let's do it. So we did it, and I never put the guitar back in the case. I sat back down in my seat with the guitar in my hand like this, watching Andy play his second set. Yeah. And in the middle of the set, he's like, dude, give me your guitar. I want to play your guitar. He's got his guitar out. He wants to do something with it. So give me the guitar. So I handed him my guitar, and I'm a big guy, so my strap on me is normal, but on a thin guy like Andy, it's like down to his ankles.
Jimmy Page and then lower. Yeah, it was.
Mention that in the chat.
So he plays it and he's tuning it up and he's playing. He's thinking. He tells me afterwards he said, I was thinking, what song could I play on this? He plays the hardest song that he does, and it's on his ankles, and he was like, this is going to be challenging. and he plays the song. I mean, like it was on his own guitar. It was crazy good.
Guitar felt great. It was Groove or Die. Yeah, that was.
Groove or Die. That's right. So yes. So and I'm thinking to myself, this is surreal. I can't believe that Andy Timmons is playing my guitar, his guitar, but it's my guitar.
It was great. It really felt great. I was yeah.
And
it was challenging. I could have raised the strap, but it was more fun. Like just.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand what you're going
from. I've been raising my guitar a little higher over time, because it makes a lot of sense to play at the same height that you're practicing, right? But it's hard to look cool when you got the guitar. But it was low, it was.
Well, you can either be Slash or be Eddie Van Halen because in '84 is playing his guitar up here.
Was he? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
and this was another moment Andy didn't want to give the guitar back.
Yeah, exactly.
He's walking away with it.
That has happened to me before, where because people that have gotten my guitar, they'll bring it out to gigs or clinics or whatever, and there's been some where I was like, this is better than mine. It's just whatever the look of the two pieces of wood and the setup. Some are better than others, but that one felt really great.
Thank you. So I'll make the rest of the story quick. So he plays the set. He hands me the guitar. after the set, he goes back out and signs autographs, and I'm like, Desiree, can we stay till the end? And she's like, yes, we can stay till the end. So I figured if he has any time at all, it's going to be after he says hello to everybody. So at the end, he takes the guitar again. We take our pictures, and I said, did you really like my guitar? It's like, yeah, man, it felt like one of my guitars.
Yeah, totally.
So I said to him, do you want to hold on to it till tomorrow and use it as a backup? And he was like, are you coming tomorrow? I said, well, I wasn't planning on it. So then you turned to my fiance Desiree and said, "What if I put you guys on my guest list tomorrow night?"
no pressure. Yeah.
She was like, "I can't say no to Andy Timmons." So we came back the next night, and we came back for the late show. He's already in the middle of talking to people and signing autographs, and I'm sitting there with the guitar, just sitting on the corner of the stage. And after it's done, he's like, "Oh man, hey, how you doing, Nate? Thanks for coming back." Takes the guitar, puts it on the stage, and I was like, "Yeah, it's so great. It's like a dream come true. One of my dreams come true."
It was great, man. I appreciate it.
It was really, it was. I've met you a lot of times, and it was just, it's not that we're best friends or anything, but it was like I felt like, man, this is so cool. It's like almost like a friendship, like we've had for a long time. Because I mean, you're friendly with everyone. You meet a million people, and it's not every day that a guy like you or a celebrity will say, "Yeah, give me your guitar, man. Let me play your guitar on a stage, on a gig."
Yeah, man. Well,
it was surreal to me. And
usually you're asking for his lunch money and beating him up. It's
I don't know if I've done that before either.
Nobody gets my lunch.
I'm pretty particular about whatever instrument I'm going to play at the time. But I guess because I felt that earlier at the maybe it was the first. Did you hand me the guitar before the gig when I played it?
Okay. I handed it to you. Well, no,
I was somewhat.
It was between sets because you played it in the second set.
It was second set, so I was somewhat confident. Okay.
You were like, "Well, the setup is good." And the thing is, I set up guitars and I like low action. And then when I played your guitar at Vi Academy, I was like, I'm going to set this guitar up just like that, which is the way my setups are. When I played your guitar, I was like, it's like playing one of my guitars.
Oh, great.
Low action, floating bridge, slightly floating.
Very slightly, yeah.
Pickups as low to the body as possible without losing sound.
Yep.
I was like, all right, well this is normal to me. So I set that guitar up like that, and I figured you wouldn't have a problem playing it.
Yeah, well, I did not. And even slung down to my knees, I was all right.
Yeah.
Krellbar in the chat says this sounds like one of the kids from Make-A-Wish story.
Oh.
Well, it's cool. It's slightly like that, but it's very cool. Yeah.
Oh man, well, glad to be a part of that, brother.
Yeah, it's all good.
Very, very cool.
So now what do we talk about?
we got questions. Have we got?
Yeah,
Dave's been telling us that story every day.
Yeah, every day.
First time I heard it. Okay.
I ignore on my phone. I'm like, oh, he's gonna tell that story.
Yeah. I gotta say, it was really sweet seeing him and his girl over there. He's got his guitar out. I want to play that guitar. Let me see it. It just made sense. It felt right.
It was very cool. Whatever it was, I think.
Very sweet.
Check.
I can't read the chat. I see it going on. I'm gonna.
All right, so I'm gonna while you guys talk about stuff, I'm gonna look for questions for you, Andy.
Yeah, Andy, Dave's gonna be outside your window with a boombox like this in your eyes.
Listen, and it's not hard to do since Desiree's from Texas. I could probably get to your house tomorrow.
Come on.
And he's starting to sweat.
I'm going ruh-roh.
It's like, holy shit.
Lock the door.
Well, no, I'll go one further, Andy. I'll go one further for you.
Oh, no.
We have another friend in common.
Who's that?
TJ Kopetic.
Oh yeah, right on. Todd.
I say we have a friend in common. Todd.
How's he doing?
You know what? I think he's in South Carolina. He's married with children.
All right.
He's doing good. He's healthy.
Good. Some health issues back.
I'm sorry.
Some health issues in the '90s, right?
I think he had
Lyme disease or something.
Lyme disease. Yeah, and that was in the beginning. I knew what that was. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's doing really well, and I'm going to tell him that. Well, actually, maybe he's watching. Who knows?
Well,
Andy, a mutual friend, a guy named Ted Poley. You might know.
I've heard of him.
He's had a lot of issues too. He can't keep all these women away from his new pool house.
Oh, is that what the problem is?
He's got a huge problem.
When I first joined the band, I lived with Ted. We had an apartment on Essex in Hackensack, New Jersey.
Yeah, Ted's from Jersey. Bruno and Steve are from the island.
Yeah.
You're from Texas. Well, Indiana and Texas.
Right. Casey was Queens. Well, Bruno was Queens too.
Bruno, I thought Bruno was out of Nassau. No.
He lived right by Lafrac City when I right there off the LIE. But he might have been out in Nassau later.
What does Casey do now?
Do what now?
What does Casey do now?
I think he works somehow with the Port Authority. I forget exactly what he does. I think he's doing well. I think he's got a new girl and doing all right. And love Casey, man. He and his brother Carl. Right. We lived together. After I moved out of Ted's place, I lived with Casey and his brother Carl, and actually their dad Doc. He was a retired dentist, but he was a jazz piano player.
Nice.
Doc Schmidt, really great guy. Their dad.
This is where he gets his ability. He's a great keys player.
He's a great keys player. Yeah, we had a fusion group. Carl, Casey's brother, is a great drummer, and so we had Casey on keys and drums, and it was a bass player named Pete Annis, and we had a fusion group called Shock. And it was like Dregs meets, I don't know what, just crazy fusion stuff. And that's where Casey really shines. He could Jan Hammer with the best of them. I mean, killing, really, really great.
I'd love to see him do more keyboard work.
Yeah, he's very capable.
Even in the Port Authority, when just sitting there at Christmas time.
Hey, sure, exactly. He can wail, man. He'll
be like Trans-Siberian Orchestra. They have Sabotage, but then they have a weekend gig as Trans-Siberian for Christmas, playing all the music.
A weekend gig, yeah.
A seasonal gig.
Al Petrelli's doing that too. He's part of the Trans-Siberian.
Yeah.
I love Al.
Great.
I love Al. He's a great guitar player. Good guy.
He's done very nicely.
So we have a couple things in the chat, Andy. Reza Khan says, "Hi, Andy. I bought 3 Ibanez RTs in 1991 because Andy was on the Ibanez ad.
Yeah.
If I come to the USA from Bangladesh, will you sign one of my Ibanezes?"
Sure, absolutely.
There you go, Reza.
Meet me at Starbucks. I'll be there.
Jason Vandermark says, "I would like to know if Andy's a big David Gilmour fan. Also, how does he get his modulation tones?"
Okay, well, Gilmour, absolutely big fan. Tone and bending and melodicism. A lot there to love. What are you showing me? What is that?
That's the Ibanez.
That's that. Yeah, that's that USA Custom I had for a while.
Now that was I think that's the same guitar as this one, right? Is that the same one?
Oh, that one there is that belongs to Alan Gilbert, my old roommate. This
was the one you were.
That has no finish on it. That's unfinished. And Alan Gilbert has that, or I don't know if he sold it or not. That's on the inside of the Screw It record. But then the other one was a Tobacco Burst USA Custom. That was the guitar I used in the Mckee business. That's the Mckee business guitar there.
There you go.
What was the other question? There was another question. I will sign the Ibanez guitar, but what was the other question?
How do you get your
modulation tone? That's a good question. That's on the any Echo device that has modulation available on the repeats. So like originally I would get it with the Deluxe Memory Man. So it's basically you're able to detune the repeats of the guitar. So it's not so much, it's not like traditional coursing like Andy Summers course, but this is actually, here's a dry guitar sound. Basic guitar tone. Now, if you listen to the repeats of my echoes, check it out. They actually get out of tune, and so what that's essentially replicating like a tape echo that the heads aren't quite aligned perfectly, and so it's just a little, there's imperfection in the repeats. So you have the guitar of the pure guitar note, but then the repeats around that note are going gradually more and more out of tune. So you just got to get in whatever unit you have. Like I say, the old Deluxe Memory Man has it. I'm using a Strymon Timeline right now. So it's basically setting up a delay and then adding modulation. That really gives, I call it the halo around the note, really gives a nice... there's also a lot of other parameters I'll get into to kind of really filter how the delays are repeating.
Can you play an excerpt from your new record that has that sound?
From the last record, yeah, that would be something very much like, since I've got that broken strat. You can hear that okay, but that's
Yeah, sounds good.
Mhm. And that's without, I don't have any reverb on. That's just the actual echoes kind of creating a reverb kind of setting. You know what I'm saying? It just allows me to have more of a singing quality. I'm really trying to go for a vocal quality when I'm playing, so I can really get more life out of each note if I decide to hang on to a phrase or something. You know.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
Just real quick, just give us the address you can get your new album on, real quick.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously all the digital outlets are just andytimmons.com. If you like the physical product, we can send that to you. But yeah, it's all the releases are on all the digital platforms you can think of. So it's easily accessible out there in DigiWorld. Yeah, so please enjoy.
Also, a couple of questions in the chat. Someone wanted to know, what do you consider the turning point of your career? What was that
I
point
think that was Krellbar.
that you felt? Krellbar asked it.
Mm-hmm.
What was the turning point in your career?
Krellbar was the turning point?
I'm sorry?
That you knew you weren't eating oyster crackers anymore.
Well, I would never call a turning point something that had to do with whether I could eat or not. But it is, obviously it's nice to be able to have a Starbucks occasionally.
And not working one.
It not work exactly. There was an interview that the guys in Steel Panther did when they were in Dallas, and they were interviewing the guy, you know, the band Steel Panther, right?
Yeah, when they did the Schmaltzer's bar mitzvah.
So they were talking about, you know, because I'm obviously it was a Dallas gig, and they were asking, well, did you know Andy Timmons? Oh yeah, Danger, wow, yeah. You know, he was really a step above because, like, you know, all the other guys are working at McDonald's, but he's working at Starbucks. I went out. I happened to go out. I saw him at the gig, and I went back. I had a good buddy of mine that was a huge fan of theirs, and was, you know, just happy to go meet Steel Panther. So I arranged for us to go, and we got to say hello. And they didn't even have their gear on and stuff, right? They were just kind of hanging. But they get on stage, and they're in full garb, and I thought they were incredible. It was a great show. And I think it was the bass player was like, yeah, we met Andy Timmons backstage, but I thought he was dead. It was played so well. It made me so happy.
We talked.
Yeah, he's working at McDonald's, man. He works at Starbucks.
Awesome. We love Steel Panther. We talk about them on the show a lot.
Yeah, great guys, great players. Turning point would be really hard to define. There's been so many bits. I mean, obviously the Danger gig was at least an introduction to the world stage, so to speak. You know, getting into that band that had a deal. There was that to me at the time was the apparent holy grail, though obviously, as I discussed earlier, realized, oh, that's really not what I want in the long run. But it was great to experience it in that way. But just meeting and playing with some of my heroes along the way. So it was, you know, getting to play one night with Eric Johnson and Mike Stern on the same stage was pretty overwhelming. You know, two of my biggest heroes, and I just stopped by to say hey before the gig. Next thing I know, we're on stage playing a couple of tunes, and it's just hearing those two guys together is overwhelming enough. Just those two iconic tones, and two of my biggest influences, you know. So,
and also, where did you learn guitar? Were you self-taught? Did you take formal lessons?
I started when I was about 5. I had just a series of toy guitars along the way. I had 3 older brothers, and we're all 4 years apart. And so my oldest brother was 12 years older than I. And so there was always every household had a Silvertone acoustic guitar in the 60s, right? I was born in 63. So there was always lots of music, lots of rock music. My brother was 12 when I was born. So all the British invasion stuff as the 60s happened, then into the heavier, Cream, et cetera, in the late 60s and Jeff Beck through the 70s. So there was always guitar influence in the household. So I was picking up by ear, early on. And then by the time I was 16, I was playing professionally from the age of 13. So I knew guitar was my life. I'd been reading Guitar Player magazine about, Tommy Tedesco and Carlton and Luke, that they're, being these session guys. Maybe I need to learn how to read music. So I sought out a local guitar teacher in Evansville, Indiana, named Ron Pritchett, who just by reputation was kind of the guitar teacher. And it took a while to get in because he was all booked up, but he started me off on the very simple reading exercises, but he could tell I could already play. So he started just playing me Barney Kessel and Joe Pass records, and he'd write out changes to jazz standards. And he'd written a very simple chord book that had lots of variations of each jazz voicing that you might need. Just not like the Ted Green book, if you're familiar with that. It was like, here's very easily learned usable voicings. And not that the Ted Green stuff isn't usable. That's a whole nother level of detail. But it kind of set it started to broaden my palette. I was playing professionally. I was in a local rock band, but I was starting to hear some jazz and learn about that. And then as I mentioned, I got into studying classical guitar in my first 2 years of college, and then changed to a jazz major at University of Miami. So majorly self-taught. The ear was the strongest thing about my playing to start with. And then I did learn how to read and got, educated as far as theory and all that. But it was the years of just listening to my Kiss records and Peter Frampton records, putting the needle on and digging it out and earning it in that way. That's still the most valuable way to learn music.
There's nobody that wasn't influenced by Kiss.
No, all
the time.
In that age, for sure. I mean, it was just inescapable. It was just the perfect band at the time for me, because Ace was the perfect guy. He just had, it was the perfect amalgamation of all the British blues rock guys. He wasn't reinventing the wheel, but when he just put it together in such a wonderful way, it was kind of, I kind of equate him to being the Slash of his day. Like Slash, came along a little later. They never really got the music respect maybe that they should have gotten, but they both played so freaking great and always had a great sound and played really memorable solos, with great energy. And so he was for me the perfect guy to learn from. And Nugent was a big guy for me early on too, and Alex Lifeson with Rush and
Aerosmith.
It's all the 70s arena rock stuff. That was.
Did you like Joe Perry?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Joe Perry and Brad Whitford. I loved Aerosmith stuff. That's just great. Absolutely.
We have a couple of requests in the chat.
Sure.
Just to hear a little bit of Electric Gypsy.
Which, by the way, is Desiree's favorite song.
Oh, wow. Man, Desiree, thank you.
Do
Do what? For Desiree, thank you.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Reza Khan also says, Dave, can you ask Andy?
Oh, shit.
I don't have my sound machine. Damn it.
I got this.
It's holding my computer up. So Reza Khan says, Dave, can you ask Andy if the clean amp is with 6L6 tubes, which I think I know the answer to that. But
Okay. What do you want to answer? Do you want me to answer?
Well,
I'm only thinking no because of what I saw at the Iridium. You were using EL34s, correct?
Yeah, the Lone Star that I've been using for many years now, it comes stock with 606s, but has switchable bias, so you can put EL34s in it. The 606s sound amazing on the clean, but I like what the EL34s do also. So I've really gravitated over the years putting 34s in all of them. Basically, I do have a Lone Star Special, which is like EL84s, which has a different kind of vibe, a little lower wattage, but that's a nice sound too.
Yeah.
But I really like the 34s. It tightens up the low end a little bit. The Lone Star has a pretty overwhelming low end that I typically almost have the bass off on both channels. But today I'm just using a clean channel with the bass rolled back, EL34s. Yeah.
He also says he has the AT Plus pedal, which I also have. But he says the exotic BB sounds more like thick sounding, like your first record, kind of like old Lenny amp tone. I don't know what that is.
Laney, you mean Laney?
Oh, a Laney maybe.
Yeah, they're completely different types of pedals. The AT, my signature pedal with JHS is called the AT Plus. And it's basically, here's a clean channel with the AT Plus. Here's the clean channel without. So it's turning my amp into that kind of vibe, right? Now the BB traditionally is what I would normally use for like a broken up blues kind of tone. For a bridge humbucker, it's not nearly as throaty as what I'm getting out of the AT Plus, right? So the BB I use more of as a boost for like a neck pickup bluesy thing, or if I were to use the lead channel of the Lone Star, I might use that as my boost, like more like a tube screamer type thing. But they're very different types of pedals, and they're both on my board. But yeah, people assume like, oh, you must use one or the other. Well, no, I used all of them.
Yeah.
No.
So those of you who want to know if Andy's AT pedal, if the one you buy in the store sounds just like the one that he's using. Now, forgive the way I play, but
Nice.
damn close.
Where do you have the treble and the presence?
Oh, I copied your board, man. So it's exactly where yours is.
Very good. Nice.
The EQ is set at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
The air is set at about just a little over 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's set at 11. The gain is set at 3, and the volume is set at about 2.
Looks very similar to what I'm looking at on my floor right now.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Dave's peeking in the window.
Oh, there's a camera in your house, Andy.
No,
Dave's looking down.
I asked Mike Dane to take a picture of your board at the Iridium. So.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's it? Okay.
All right.
Dave was at your window this afternoon.
Hey, what is that?
Hey, knock.
I thought it saw some nose prints.
Dave.
Your friend. No.
He's like a vampire. He's like a vampire. You gotta knocking on the door. Let me in. Let me in.
All right, I deserve it. I deserve the round.
Another question from the chat. Michael Smith wants to know: can you ask Andy who his most influential mentor in the music industry is?
My most influential what now?
Mentor.
Wow.
Who was your most who really influenced you?
Oh well, as far as just straight up guitar, it was Steve Lukather, I would have to say. I mean, again, starting with Ace and then starting with the Beatles, really, and then that's still my constant love throughout my life. And then Ace was a guy I learned from, but Lukather was a guy that kind of bridged a couple of areas. He obviously had all this great bluesy rock stuff, but there was a bit of jazz going on in his playing. And right when I was hearing him, it was right when I was just taking some jazz lessons. So he really appealed to me because it was kind of like next level rock. It was all the essence of what I love about rock and blues, because it's such a conviction and passion that he plays with. But there was also some of the elements that I was hearing in some of the jazz playing that I was starting to get turned on to, right? Mike Stern was another guy that came along not long after that for me that embodied that Hendrix tone and vibe, but Charlie Parker vocabulary. So that was really kind of a couple of guys that meant a lot to me. Eric Johnson's another guy. Steve Vai, musically and personally, he's a really brilliant guy.
Another Long Islander.
Long Islander, yeah. I mean, Satriani taught us all so much. I mean, he was an inspiration for so many players of, certainly my generation, and before and after. Just the ability on the instrument, but also the songwriting. That's a big part of Joe's success, is not just his virtuosity, but his ability to craft a tune that is worthy of hearing, beyond the guitar solo. It's not purely a vehicle for that. Certainly there's elements of that as big guitar fans love, but man, there's great tunes, and that's certainly, it kind of gave me the green light in the late 80s. I remember one of my fondest times of my life was in the late 80s. I was living in Denton, Texas, which is kind of a music hippie college town, and I would just walk around with my little cassette Walkman with Surfing with the Alien, just going, it's just so great. This is
great album.
I could hear myself doing that. It's like I love guitar. I love what's happening with the sound of this record and the vibe of it. So he was another guy that really, and just seeing him at the most recent Vi camp that we did, the Vi Academy 5.0, he was one of the featured guests. And so often I find that the artists that I gravitate towards, I almost enjoy hearing them speak as much as I do hearing them play. I love hearing Joe and Steve just speaking about their craft and the way they think about and feel about music. And think about Hendrix. When you hear Hendrix speak, he's so much he played that way. He had this really beautiful way of expressing himself, so Joe's one of those guys. I really just enjoyed him, talking about the process, and continues to be a big inspiration. But those are some of the main guys, no doubt about it. But I learned from everybody. We all find bits here and there from all the great players, and all the different styles. I don't just sit around listening to instrumental rock guitar, right? It's all about a really broad range, hopefully, musical influences that add up to be whatever it is that I'm meant to be. I just don't want to imitate one particular cat or a couple of guys. I'll never be, I'll be a pale imitation, right? But take those bits that you love. And Mike Stern said something once to me that made a lot of sense. It's like it's our limitations that kind of help us forge our own sound, because we might be trying to do this guy or that guy, but we can only be us at a certain point. So it's those limitations, but you take what you can get, and from the things that you love so much, and then hopefully it comes out as your own thing eventually.
Barbara Walters wants to know, if you were a tree, what type of tree would you be? Would you be morning wood?
I did ask you were going to use the Barbara Walters filter on me, right? You're going to make me kind of.
It's an app.
I've got okay. This is a wonderful story that Simon Fraser Clark with the Laney Company tells a great story about. He witnessed an Yngwie clinic. And this was somewhere in England, right? So
Yngwie says that was the best one he'd ever been to.
He said that.
If you ask him, absolutely.
Really? Okay. Well, the story that I heard was that the English being English, was like somebody he's taking questions about gear and playing. It's Yngwie. Yes. Do you have a dog? No, I don't have a dog. And it goes on, and then 10 minutes later, if you had a dog, I got such a kick out of that. So if you had a dog. What? Anyway, I'm not sure where that's going.
Influential player. I was.
Say again?
Yngwie, who was your most influential player?
Yeah.
I was.
I've heard that from another artist at a different clinic, but okay, I'll say this. Yngwie, there's lots of stories about Yngwie not being the easiest guy to be around, and I had a couple of experiences myself that I won't share. But I went to see him. It's been 6 years now. I've told this story a couple of the times, but it's worth repeating in that I thought I need to go see Yngwie because he's one of the great virtuosos of all time, regardless of whatever personal experience I might have. And this guy's a brilliant player. And I went and I thought, well, it could be kind of a shtick, Marshalls and leather and right. But I mean, one song into it, I'm like, okay, I'm walking closer and closer to the front. By the end, I'm up front, and it was one of the best guitar performances I've ever seen, like hands down. It was so good. Because it was somehow it was real. This guy believes he's the world's greatest guitar player, and you're out there going, "Yep." Right now, I'm with you on that one. But it was really great. It was really truly a great experience to really witness just the effortlessness and the true brilliance of what he brings to the instrument. And I was really, really happy to see that. Now let's just get back to treating other human beings well. That's all I ask from anybody. It's not that hard to be nice to each other, is it?
We're trying.
I think we should try. We should try to be. Let's just be good to one another, shall we?
Dave bought me dinner tonight.
Oh, how nice is that?
Oh, Desiree did.
Oh, Desiree. Well,
not nice to me.
I always liked her. She's always been very nice.
She still is
super nice. Yeah.
Thank you.
So Michael Smith was the guy that asked you the last question.
Yeah.
That brings me to the new guitar, Dave.
Okay. Oh, nice.
This is a guitar
That's
that
beautiful.
Michael Smith sent me this in the mail.
Now he's just bragging, everybody. Now he's just the heck. That's a beautiful guitar.
Yeah. It's very cool. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Well,
again, the only guy that hasn't sent you a guitar on the internet is me. Apparently,
giving him a guitar when he comes here in December. So it was like a trade, but he wanted
Pick
to
anyone you want, Michael. Anyone,
especially this one right here.
Yeah, there you go.
Right here.
Take that guy.
the whole Les Paul thing.
Oh, Les Paul. Yeah, sure.
So speaking of guitars,
Wow, it's a bit of
Whoa.
a pat.
about
How
this
did
guy.
you get that?
This one, Andy Timmons sent me this one.
Okay, I did send you that guitar.
We were talking earlier about this is the cover of the first Danger Danger.
Danger. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Tell us about you were talking about the painter who did this, a friend of yours.
It was my roommate at the time, Billy Bush, who now works with the group Garbage. He and I were housemates in Denton, Texas, years ago when I got the Danger Danger gig. Then he eventually became my guitar tech, but it might have even been before he got the Danger Danger tech gig with me. But he said, "Yeah, I know a guy that does custom guitar painting." I think he might have been in Abilene. I want to say somewhere in West Texas. And I'm so sorry I don't recall the guy's name. He said, "Yeah, he can paint the guy from the album cover on your guitar." So send it to him, and he what a phenomenal job. But that was the only ibanez I think I had because that's got EMG pickups in it, doesn't it?
Well, this isn't an Ivy. This is one of your Kramers.
Hello, there's my good memory again, John. Woo! Thanks for dialing me in. I couldn't see this. Well, that's the only.
Andy actually doesn't even remember selling it to me. I'm gonna get a police order tomorrow.
I remember letting that one go, John. I don't remember. No, okay, no, I do remember. Yeah, okay, so that wasn't the only guitar I had with EMGs from Kramer. I also had a white night swan that had EMG.
Custom Night Swan with 2 single coils and a hum over here. 2 angled single coils.
Exactly right. But that guitar was not the guitar wasn't built for me, but it was eventually that was built for Rep Beach.
Yes.
And I was at the Kramer factory the day that Reb called to say he was going with Ibanez, I think, or something crazy like that. I think that guitar went home with me after that, basically. Yeah. That was the very first time I was in Guitar World magazine was the interview with Joe Lalena. It was a picture of me playing that white night swan in my Danger Danger garb, as I'll call it. Yeah. Sequins and spandex. What's that?
That was also in the Naughty Naughty video.
Naughty was the Hall of Flash.
It was both. Look at it close. There's that memory.
Is that in there, really? Oh my God!
Have that in one scene where you're on one of the risers in the back. Just for a few seconds, you're playing that swan.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and the black collar.
All right, there you go.
I have that guitar.
No,
the
that's
swan.
gone. That's gone. The Swan's been sold a couple of times over.
It has. Okay.
No, I don't have that one. I'm looking.
Slacker.
These guys, huh, Andy?
I guitar geeks. I don't know anything about it. I just try to play. I don't know. No, dude, that's awesome, man. Well, it's lovely that these guitars can get into some hands that people can have them and appreciate them, and I love them too.
Yeah.
So thanks for showing that. That's beautiful.
So
sure.
Tell us about the AT300 guitar.
It happens to be right behind me now.
Let's see.
Lurking in the background.
We don't believe you.
Would I make it up? Would I make things up?
Hey!
Hello there. Look at that. Oh, hello.
Look at that beautiful thing.
Hello, friend. Oh, this has got a weird tuning right now. I was doing a session track for somebody, so it's down. It has to.
Yeah.
I'll tune it back up. This guitar was this was the final prototype before it went to production for the guitar called the AT300, and it was another situation where Ibanez had a different line coming out. It says we'd like to make a guitar based. I forget if it was not the SA line, but what line?
Yeah, it was the SA line. Larry Mitchell has a custom shop SA that looks like that.
Okay, so it's basically so it's kind of the neck profile of my old 100, but with a mahogany body and a rosewood neck. So, and pickups, bolted directly into the body. So it's got a much. It's definitely a heavier tone, but this is the guitar that was primarily the sound of the Resolution record. So if you think of tunes like it's just it has that sound. Fancy little inlays on there.
Yeah. Now that guitar is so hard to find.
Yeah, it was limited in production. They made it for I don't know how many years, maybe 4 or 5 years. But apparently it was rather pricey for them to produce because of the inlays.
Beautiful.
And with all my instruments, it's always an issue. Is like, well, we can make it exactly like yours, or we can do these things to make it more affordable and but as far as the main model of the guitar, I want it to be exactly my guitar. So the guitar that you would have gotten is the same exact guitar, except for the pieces of wood are going to be different, obviously. But I didn't want to cut corners on anything, so that can be problematic as far as price points, etc. But I'm very happy that that Ibanez realized how important it is to me that I want it to be exactly what I'm playing and not some kind of just doing it for the endorsement deal or whatever, So, they've been very good about that. I'd be very, very, very proud of that.
Now, the neck profile on that, is it different than the AT100, or is it the same?
It's essentially the same, yeah. It's definitely the same kind of width. Obviously, different sound and tone due to the rosewood via versus maple.
So how did you come across the Cruiser pickups?
The Cruiser, that was completely just somebody at in fact, it was Bill Comiskey. When we were putting together the first AT100, I was just kind of searching for the right. I wanted a single coilish pickup. I said, he just tried these Cruisers. Hey, you should try these. And we put them in. It happened to be the bridge pickup in the neck, just by either accident or I'm not sure why it happened, but that's just how it was originally put together. The original bridge pickup in that guitar was a Seymour Duncan Jeff Beck, which stayed in that guitar even after we came out with the production model where we'd come up with a DiMarzio AT1. I left the Beck in there just kind of out of superstition. It's like, it's still working. It finally died, and I put my AT1 in, and I did like it better, luckily. That's handy. But it was all kind of based on that original Duncan Jeff Beck. But I love the AT1 pickup they've done for me.
Yeah, it's a great pickup. I have that in quite a few guitars.
Oh, thank you.
Now, we have a question from Guitar Chimp 12. He's asked it a few times. Now, this is kind of interesting because he's saying that he feels the first Danger Danger album was some of the best guitar work of the 80s. Now, I know, and you know, Tony mostly wrote that. Tony Bruno Ray played most of that. You played on some of it.
Saturday Night and Boys Will Be Boys, yeah.
Right, you did the solos for both of those.
I did the solos on records, yeah, on those two songs. But yeah, no, I mean, I've been as up front from day one as possible. But some people may, because of so much time has gone by, may not be privy to the fact that that's not me playing on those original tracks. So,
but what is from that album? What is your favorite song to play live?
Oh, from that record, I would have enjoyed "Under the Gun" just because that's like the song. That was always fun to do. I liked all of them; they were good tunes, you know.
You play them great.
What's that?
You play them great.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, it was up to me to just try to replicate, you know, what was on the record. I was very respectful to that. Then, of course, I took my own liberties along the way. Sometimes we'd stretch solos at the end, so I'd want to interject a bit more of my own personality. But you know, as I approach any gig, I'm putting myself in the fans' spot. You know, what do they want to hear, right?
And what is your favorite song of your own to play live out of everything?
I always love "Cry for You" and "Electric Gypsy."
Electric Gypsy. Just
because I like the tunes where I have a bit of room to play differently every night. And those are songs that are good springboards for that. But I mean, they're my kids. I like all of them. You know, I like.
Sure. So Renus Pinkle has
they're all fun in different ways. You know,
Renus Pinkle in the chat has a great question. He says he's watching Danger Danger Don't Walk Away live in Japan at the moment. Wow. How different are the fans in Japan related to the fans in the States?
Oh, I know this.
Well, at the time, you know, it's interesting. They seem a bit more reserved at first, but they can also rock out like better than some audiences anywhere in the world, really, you know.
They still love 80s metal over there, like big time.
Yeah, I mean, again, we were kind of fortunate to get in when we did, and we did better there than we did here in the States as far as level of notoriety. You know, it for a while there, it was like whoever was big here would be big there because they were such into American music at that time. That changed over time, but we were like one of the few bands that were on the covers of all the magazines over there that didn't quite break on that level here. You know, right. We were actually a rarity in that way.
I mean,
we were always yeah. Oh man, yeah. They were such sweet fans, and they've been that way with any acts that they get into, and they're very loyal. So that's why I think I had a good start as far as having a fan base in Japan and in that part of the world in general. After my time in that band, I started coming back over either with my own band or with Simon Phillips or with Olivia over the years. Yeah, there were certain core fans that were just always there. They're always going to support who they start supporting. You know, it's a very loyal society, very, very loyal fan base. So again, just fortunate to have a little bit of that still happening for me over there now. But it all started, obviously. Yeah, that first trip with Danger Danger, it was January of 1990, I think. And yeah, we had girls meeting us at the airport and chasing us around the streets in Roppongi. It was pretty classic, and it was a lot of fun. You know,
Andy, Cameron Brown. Which, if you have a chance, first of all, you need to YouTube Cameron Brown.
Okay.
He's an amazing guitar player. He's been a guest of ours.
Cool.
He says that he played "Cry for You" for one of his college exam gigs.
Oh wow, cool.
It took a long time to learn.
Wow. Yes. What's a long song?
Yeah. He's
11 minutes. It's like Hey Jude length. You know.
He's John Suhr guitar endorsee, and
great, right on. Suhr makes great guitars.
I believe also with EVH with amps. But
cool.
Yeah, he's a YouTuber.
Okay.
But if you see him play guitar, he's like, forget it. You'd love him. You'll love him.
Great. Awesome. Well, hey Cameron. Hello.
Now, other than Dave, have there ever been any crazed fan stories?
Not other than Dave. He's been really the only crazy.
It's the craziest.
That's hard to quantify that question, but we'll just leave it at Dave. We'll just leave it.
Wow.
Next week, Dave will be broadcasting the show in his car. I'm on Andy's driveway.
Oh man.
I'm gonna trick or treat in 5 different outfits.
There may be some left. There may not be. I think the Kit Kats are in danger of going first because Alex knows.
Oh yeah.
The Grace fans say "fuck off."
Oh,
No, I'm just kidding.
who says that? Oh,
No, I'm just.
it was going so well.
No,
I'll warn you.
no, I'm just kidding. God.
We know. It's all with love.
Yes, absolutely. And I was saying that to him.
Okay.
And, how about best memory on tour with Kiss and best memory on tour with Alice Cooper?
Okay, I would say with Kiss, well, the last night of the tour that we did on the Hot in the Shade tour was in Memphis, and I had my brother was living there at the time, so my brother was there. But classic shenanigans, end of tour stuff, where the crews and bands are kind of messing with each other, pulling pranks. Well, with Danger, we were. They started doing all kinds of stuff. They'd hire these transvestites to come on stage. They were kind of strutting on stage. They were playing these phone sex samples on some kind of sampler, and then they start taking Steve's drums away piece by piece. And there's Gene Simmons, in the photo pit in the pit right in front of me. And so what we did in retaliation, we were playing Naughty Naughty, so we stopped. And we went into Deuce. We'll play a Kiss tune, right? So we're playing Deuce, and I'm leaning down to Gene, and he's in the pit. And he was a big Diet Cherry 7-Up guy back at the time. He's holding his Diet Cherry. He started pouring that on my solo Nike Solo Flight shoes as I'm playing the solo from Deuce. I thought, this is it. This is the high point of my career. And lots of backstage musical trivia with Gene and Paul. We'd sit around trying to stump each other about 60s pop. They're big 60s guys because that was their generation growing up. And because I had older brothers their age, I knew all the same tunes. And I'm kind of a geek about that era. So a lot of fond memories of just kind of hanging and shooting the breeze. They were good dudes.
That's amazing.
With Alice, just seeing him on stage every night. And the same with Kiss too. We watched every single Kiss gig that we ever opened for. Mainly me and Bruno would be on the side of the stage. Watch just like little kids, man. This is the stuff we grew up with. But
Bruno's like a geek's geek.
Oh, totally. We kind of all, and Steve too. We just all were just, let's not deny Steve West his geekiness as well.
Sure.
We loved all that stuff, and that's how we all cut our teeth and learned.
And Coop is like so intelligent. Like nobody realizes he's like a genius.
No, he's a really straight ahead guy. Like you say, very intelligent, and we didn't see that much of him, to be honest. He would just kind of come in for the gig. He'd be out golfing every day somewhere, because by that time, obviously, he was way beyond all the crazy years, so to speak. So, no, he was a sweetheart. We really didn't get to see him that much. We saw the Kiss guys a lot more during that tour, but Alice was great, true pro, just great, still doing it, looking great, doing awesome,
fantastic,
just fantastic, yeah, very very good.
And who's your favorite Kiss guitarist, personally?
Kiss guitarist? Oh, well, it's Ace. I mean, I love Bruce so much. He's a great guy, great player, and Tommy does a great job keeping the flame lit as it would be. And who else is there? Vinny and Mark St. John. Well, he was in the band briefly, right?
One album.
But yeah, and Robin Ford played on a couple of tracks, right? As it's legendary. But Ace is my guy, man. He's he signed the back of this original AT100. It's gone now because it wore. Even though I lacquered over it, it went away. But he and I got to play a couple times together. We played when he signed the guitar. We played at Thoroughbred Music together in 1994, Tampa, Florida. There was a music shop called called Thoroughbred in Tampa. They would do the kind of like mini NAMM show of their own.
Very famous guitar.
Very famous guitar show. So this one year, it was the rhythm section was Dave LaRue and Rod Morgenstein, and then Steve Morse was there, and Vinnie Moore was there. So it was I got to play Cruise Control with the Dregs, and then I played Cold Gin with Ace in the same night. And so this is just like one of these, like, how is this even a thing? How is this happening? But just these little pinch yourself moments, like, what the heck? How'd I get here? This is pretty good.
Now you're a big Ace fan. I think all of us are. Yeah. And Tommy is a sweetheart of a guy.
Wonderful, yeah.
Great player. How do you feel about him playing Ace? Do you have any feelings about that?
I do.
We've talked about this on the show. We asked everybody.
I mean, it's not my favorite thing. It's weird seeing people in somebody else's
shtick.
Makeup and shtick, right? But the bottom line is, I mean, that however Gene and Paul need to run their biz, that's how they have to do it. I obviously, as a fan, you want the family to be together. You want everybody to get along and be happy, but it's just not the way it worked out, right? I mean, obviously, just as individuals, I mean, read the autobiographies. My God,
yeah. Especially Paul's.
I love Paul's. Okay, so I mean, I read all four.
Great.
And the Paul's was the one I came out liking the guy a little bit more.
Paul's was probably the most honest from what I know of him.
But there was stuff in the other was like, this is your book. You don't have to tell me this. You don't, I thought they were divulging stuff that just they were being maybe more honest than they should have been. But I mean, it is what it is. Life is tough. It's even tougher when you're in a successful band. I think the relationships could be very, very challenging, especially considering the vast differences of lifestyles, shall we say, and personalities. So I totally get why things went the way they went. But yeah, it's weird seeing guys in the other makeup. But again, for the fans that aren't our age, let's just say, it doesn't matter as much, and I'm not against it or have hugely negative feelings about it. I was very happy that I did get to see the very first reunion run.
Sure.
When Ace and Peter were back for a while, I did get to see one of those shows. It was emotional. Fess up to that, I got teary a couple times.
For them too.
It was those guys playing together, and that's what we grew up with. And it was so great,
For them too.
I love that Eric and Tommy are phenomenal players and great guys. Nothing against them, and I'm happy that they have a great gig. So I would have
loved to have seen them in their own costumes, though. Come up with their own character.
Yeah, maybe so, but that might be even weirder. So there's really, I think that they're probably doing it in the best way possible. And again, for the younger fans, they don't really know the difference, and so let the fantasy be what it is. And as we all know, Gene and Paul don't have to do this forever, and they can easily just get another couple guys and let it go on. Why not let that body of work continue to go on with other people playing the music?
Paul has said he wants to do that.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. Why not? It's people that are going to go. It's like, well, there's these amazing cover bands now that are doing huge business, and people just want to go hear the music and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's more power to them because it's live music and people going out to the clubs, I think it's good. It's still rock and roll being played live, and why not?
I'm amazed how good they are live still.
Yeah, no doubt.
People say, but they have a backing track. You know what? When you're that age, I forgive you for having a little backing track. Paul up there as a however old Jewish guy, skipping along across the
Stanley
on a line.
Yeah, dude. What? I know.
God bless him, man. God bless him.
Fantastic.
Big time.
No, they've earned it, man. They've earned it.
Big time.
They paid more dues than anybody. They worked hard, man. They did.
Gene, do you remember touring with Andy?
I don't have my microphone.
Oh, you can't
do it with that. No,
he does a great Gene imitation.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, wait.
Of Kiss. I invented Andy Timmons.
The first time I met Gene, I forget where we were in the Carolina, maybe North Carolina. It was the Danger's first kind of big arena gig, right? And so we're excited. We're in the dressing room. Our managers are there, and Gene. It's like a basketball arena, right? So it's like we're in like funky dressing room, and Gene appears in the doorway, and this is obviously non-makeup years, but he walks in. I'm standing close to the doorway, so I quickly go, "Hey, Gene." He goes, "Wait till I'm ready." Okay, now. Andy, before I go to bed, I must have 3 cookies. Really? Yes, 3 cookies. One time the hotel would not give me those cookies, so I broke into the kitchen, and they sent security after me. But yeah, I'm just imagining Gene going after 3 cookies every night.
Did Gene ever pull the dollar trick on you?
What does this involve?
It's not the G-string thing. No,
hey,
he basically goes and he goes to random people and he says, "Can I borrow $1?" and you're not going to turn down. It's Gene Simmons. It's just
hard to say no to the guy. Yeah, he's very imposing.
He takes the dollar, puts it in his pocket, and he's like, "Thank you," and that's it.
That's the trick.
But he does it like constantly.
That's a great trick.
do you know how many dollars I wound up with?
That's great. You can get away exactly.
Yeah, and he told me, he's like, do you know why I pick up pennies? I said, probably the same reason I do. He's like, because the more pennies I have, the more dollars I have. I like dollars. And it was just awesome. It was like a life lesson.
Yeah. And again, they've watched it well. No doubt about it.
Brilliant.
So,
Brilliant.
Andy in the chat, Eduardo Marino Porto says, how was the experience to make a record about bossa nova and tour here in Brazil with Sidney Carvalho?
Carvalho, yeah. It's one of my life, just one of my most proudest moments, really. For those you don't know, I have traveled a lot in Brazil, and there was a tour that was happening maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It was just a clinic tour. I was endorsing this guitar pedal company called G&I, and they make an Octavia pedal that sounds like this. Kind of Hendrixy, vibey pedal. Anyway, so I'm down there doing some clinics. I thought, man, I'm in Brazil. I should play some bossa novas. Because it's it's a very jazz related genre of music that originated in Brazil. And the partner I was with, Sydney, who works for the pedal company, who was kind of my guide, taking me from city to city. I said to him, maybe we should find a local guy in each city to play, just some Joe Beam tunes, like the classic Girl from Ipanema or whatever it might be. He says, well, I play bossa nova. My wife and my daughter, they sing, and I'll bring my nylon guitar and we'll play. So every day we started playing a couple of Joe Beam tunes, and some of these performances got put out on YouTube. And so some classic older bossa nova guys responded and said, hey, this one guy, Roberto Menescal, who I'd learned one of his songs when I was 16 from my first guitar teacher, a song called O Barquinho. So this is one of the guys that with Gilberto and Antonio Jobim, invented this style of music, saw our video and said, come to my studio. I want to produce a record for you. I love what you guys are doing. Cause I was just kind of playing in my bluesy rock kind of style, but in this Brazilian platform. Right. So we made a record, and you can find it. It's just called Andy Timmons and Sidney Carvalho Play the Bossa Hits. So it's us doing all the classic Joe Beam tunes. It was incredible. I love the Brazilian people. I love the culture. I love that music quite a bit. And then we did a tour a couple years ago. I went down and we did a kind of a bossa and a rock tour. And Menescal came out and played a couple tunes at one of the shows with us. It was a real honor, and it meant a lot to the people of Brazil. The rock fans, it meant a lot to them that I was playing music that's native to their country. And because I love it. It's just a beautiful sense of harmony and sensuality and melody. I love it.
Biggest career regret.
Biggest career regrets.
If you could change one thing. One thing.
Man, fortunately, I don't think I really have a regret. I can't think of anything that, we talk about things that you have to say no, or you pick a different path, but I don't have any. I really don't. I don't have any. I mean, any regrets, I wish I would have played better at every gig, but I'm working on it. That's something you can keep working on. And if David came to the gig and said that was a good night, then I feel like, okay, maybe I'm still growing. Maybe I'm still getting.
Telling you that was.
I've never seen you play a bad show, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm gonna keep trying. But no, man, no career regrets. It's all part of the path and part of learning.
Bruno once told me his biggest regret was that live album. That he never produced that into mainstream the way that Mark Slaughter did with his live album.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Danger, Down and Dirty Live.
Okay. Well, you talking about the EP that came out in the 90s in the original Danger lineup, or the
original Danger lineup. The second CD technically that came out was Down and Dirty Live.
It was a promo only. That wasn't never for sale. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Bruno said I should have.
Yeah.
Because Slaughter had such success.
Well, they did. Okay.
Live.
Yeah.
Okay. If I would have done that live, and it had the Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo cover.
Yeah.
Which was great. Wow. And he's like, if I would have just done that, produced that, and put that out there in the mainstream.
Yeah. Maybe so. That's it. I haven't heard him mention it like that, but that makes sense.
Yeah. No, great CD.
Have you heard that record he did with his band, The Defiance? Is it Defiance?
Oh.
There's a record that Bruno has with it's Rob and Paul Lane. They just put a new record out.
I thought they were working on another Danger album because I know they're touring next year.
Record that just came out. I think it's called The Defiance. I'm so embarrassed I may be getting that wrong. But no, they just put out another record. It's got some kind of Japanese title to it. But it's what I heard was fantastic, just classic. If you're a Danger fan, you got to hear this record because it's it's Paul Lane and it's Rob and it's Bruno writing.
Read this.
Cool stuff.
Right. Yes, very good.
Which Reasons?
Yes.
Let's see. Reza Khan wants to know: is that Mesa Triple Crown 100 the next tone machine for Andy? Thanks. It's a I am with compressor. I just love Andy's tone. Love my JHS AT pedal and R0 AT1. So yeah.
Well, thank you, man. I love the Triple Crown. I'm still I'm so dialed in with my Lone Star. I just love it. I've got the Triple Crown for certain session tones. If I want a higher gain lead tone, sometimes I'll use that. It's got a good vibe to it. So I'm still I dabble with it, but I love it's a great sounding head.
The Boogie family.
It's in the Boogie family. Yes, it is. Yes,
Dave, go through a lot of people don't know a lot of the other works you've done.
Oh yeah.
Let's go through, Dave. Go through some of the other bands and works that Andy's done.
I'm going to go with Paula Abdul first.
Oh wow, yeah. Oh, that was just a couple of sessions I did here in Dallas. A friend of mine named Tim Miner was producing a record for her, so it had to be in the early '90s, maybe '93 or '4, something like that. And she was a sweetheart, man. She was great. I just came in and played on 3 or 4 tracks, but I think only 2 of the tracks made the record.
Do you remember what they were?
I don't. It was on a record called Spellbound, though.
Great album.
I just don't remember. I don't remember what I played on, but I'm sure it's in the credits.
She has that record.
I have that record too.
Wow, right on, John.
Kip Winger.
Okay, easily. Well, I played on several records with him, but
his solo ones, right?
Yeah, his solo. The first. Yeah, I have a lot of history with obviously because Reb and Kip and I. They offered for me to join Winger right when I was still in Danger, which is why I didn't join Winger. But no, that first Kip solo record, This Conversation Seems Like a Dream, is one of my favorite things I've ever done.
Great
just the way it happened. It was very, very organic, very spontaneous. A lot of the tracks that are on there that I played on were just first take, and I hadn't even heard the song. It just, here's the key and go. And then I'd come back a month later, and things I improvised, he would have written string lines around and vocals singing in unison. I mean, it was just so brilliant. The level that of musicality that Kip has it's really incredible.
We've actually talked about Kip, both Kip and Reb, on the show a lot of times.
Yeah,
they really got probably the raw steel when hair metal changed to grunge, because Beavis and Butthead just ripped them to shreds right when Winger's Pull album came out, which was a terrific album.
Record, yeah.
The timing was terrible for them.
Yeah, I know. They got vilified, and then in the
Metallica.
The Metallica thing, No. It's horrible that anybody gets made fun of on that level, and it had to hurt a lot. I know it hurt a lot,
Especially after putting such a good product out.
These are the one guys that could actually play. Let's just say that.
Oh yeah, well, I got to tell you.
No offense to any other band out there, but these guys were they were just great guys and real musicians, and so maybe that was part of it. Maybe that's part of the reason why they weren't cool to some people, because they could actually play. Go figure.
Now, have you ever?
Chodo could probably talk about that too.
Have you ever met? Well, when we have them on, we'll
okay. There you go. Great.
Have you ever met the guys from Metallica?
No, I don't know any of them. I get the feeling they're largely nice people, I guess. I don't know. I don't know them. Who knows?
Moving on.
I do.
Okay. Well, okay, good.
So, first part of this is, do you still have the black Ibanez Blazer that you played with Olivia Newton-John? Or is it a green one? I can't tell.
No. It's a black one with a maple neck. Yes, I still have that.
And let's talk about you being Olivia's MD for how many years?
15.
Wow.
started working in 2000 together.
Well done.
Easily one of my favorite people on the planet. One of my most proud associations. People always kind of that know me from what I do and bands I've been in, kind of get a knee-jerk reaction. Well, what are you doing with Olivia Newton-John? If you can choose who you work with, and enjoy the process. Yeah, she's just a great person, and I love her dearly, and we're great friends. And I love the music, and we put a band together for her of a bunch of people that really had the same level of respect for the music and for her, and it was just a great thing, and a great part of my career, really, in that, because it was just enough to where it was this is a good gig to have. I still have plenty of time to do all the other stuff that I want to do, be it my own projects or Simon Phillips's group. So yeah, it may sound strange, but I was much happier doing that than some of the other bands I might have gotten offered gigs from in the heavier rock scene. You know what I mean? It's like, I just want to be with people I want to be with. You know what I mean?
I agree with it. Olivia's great. Her music's great.
And let's just plug real quick, because she's having an auction.
I've been hearing about this. Yeah.
I think it's Julian's, but you can Google it and correct me if I'm wrong. But we wish her luck with that. So
yeah,
Google that, look it up after the show.
She's one that has always she's done a lot of good with her celebrity. Since she had breast cancer in the early 90s, she's been a tireless breast cancer awareness advocate, and she has her own cancer research and wellness hospital in Australia, which she worked over 10 years getting that to come to fruition. So I've just seen her do so much good. She's just a sweet person. People always ask me, is she as great as she seems? And I say, well, it's kind of better. She's just a real genuine, down to earth, but really, really sharp, really extremely funny, knowledgeable about, just knows every tune. We can sit around and play show tunes or Beatle tunes all day long. We have a great time together.
Show tunes.
That was great.
Speaking of breast cancer, we have a segment on the show that we do every week for the month of October. This is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. For those guys that have watched the show, every Tuesday, we do show and tell with a specifically pink guitar to signify breast cancer awareness.
Right on. Cool.
So today,
thank you for doing that. That's beautiful.
Show and tell guitar for the last week of October. Yeah. Just to remind you, if you have a woman,
yes,
if you have a mother, a sister,
and you do.
A grandmother, a girlfriend, a friend, a sister, breast cancer awareness, have your girls checked, know your girls,
absolutely.
Get a mammogram.
Please do.
And ladies and gentlemen, today's show and tell guitar, in honor of breast cancer awareness, Johnny.
Where is it?
Wow, look at that. Listen to that. Look at that.
This is a 1988 BC Rich Gunslinger.
Wow, nice.
Pink snake skin.
Pink snake.
Whoa.
Ooh.
For those of you guys that remember me talking about Gunslingers previously, very specific shredder built by Bernie Rico's company, 8889. Nice. Designed by Dan Lawrence and Glenn Matasiel. This particular one has a very, very beautiful pink snakeskin finish. You have a zebra Duncan in there.
Nice.
Let's see. This is a licensed Floyd Rose.
That's a Godo.
Godo licensed Floyd Rose. Thank you, Dave. Maple neck, fast shredder.
Nice.
Headstock, and of course the famous Gunslinger access angle over here.
Nice.
You ever play one of these?
What's that?
You ever play one of these?
I have not. It looks awesome, though. What did Tony McAlpine play on his Maximum Security?
Tony played, and I actually own that guitar. His Harlequin guitar is silver and gold and black diamond.
Yeah.
That's a BC Rich ST. That was the precursor to this.
I've listened to that record again a couple of months ago. It just sounds phenomenal.
Tony's a great guy, and he's a great player.
Tremendous. But what a influential record that was.
Now, Dave has never played a Gunslinger. I've always talked about them because I have a lot of these.
Okay.
So I really want to see Dave try and give us his impression.
Do it.
I would try
on this.
Okay.
Well, the neck feels
Wait,
great.
hang on.
The neck looks very nice to me. I like it.
It's really well worn in. I tell you,
Yeah.
this feels like a 30-year-old, 40-year-old guitar.
There you go. Well, I guess it is.
In tune.
It's hard to admit that the guitars of our youth are now antiques, guys. Yeah, that's pretty much.
They are. It's like us.
Well, we're like a fine wine, really.
Let's see what Dave thinks.
Very nice.
I should have tuned it before the show, but
Yeah.
sorry about that. But it feels great. This neck feels very much like an old San Dimas Charvel, like
What they were modeled
79 to 81.
Okay. Oh, great.
It's flat radius board, nice. It feels also a little bit of like your guitar, bit like your guitar. It's a little rounder in the back, like yours.
Okay.
Nice and shallow here at the nut.
1
5/8 probably R2 nut.
Yeah.
It feels great. This
Great.
pickup is really, it's very bassy. I'm definitely don't have the right tone for it on my amp, but
Yeah.
it
Pretty cool.
feels great. Really feels great. Big frets. A lot of life left on this guitar.
I got it like gem mint.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And it's pink for Breast Cancer Awareness
I
Month.
love that. Thank you for doing that, man.
There
That's
you
awesome.
go. So,
Dig it. Yay. Hey guys. Okay, so it's chapter 10. I'm gonna have to get. I gotta wrap it up. But maybe we'll have to do part 2 of this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was just going to ask you. We're going on 3 hours.
And well, happy. I mean, like you say, it goes fast. I'm happy to spend the time. But it's almost time for Jeopardy on the couch with the wife.
I totally hear you.
Oh, look at
Oh my goodness.
no second.
this was the first guitar you were playing when I first met you
Aw,
back in the day,
go way back.
way back, 1989, I believe.
Yeah.
I was blown away by how pretty this was. I mean, obviously, I like playing, love the band,
Right
friend
on.
of the band, yada yada. But I saw your tech wiping this down. I walked up to the case and I said, "This is one of the most beautiful guitars I've ever seen in my life." And thank you so much for selling me this.
Well, it's in good hands, man. I'm glad to see it go to a loving family.
Very loving. It's very loving.
Very nice. It was my tech. It must have been Howie Love. Howard Thaler. That must have been the guy wiping it down back in the day.
How we love.
Howie Love. Yeah. Howie Love.
Baby love.
Howie Love.
I'll see you guys later.
Hey, to my knowledge, that's the only one that was made with a red
It
back.
was.
That was a specific request from me from Kramer.
I confirmed that with one of the guys over at Kramer,
Okay.
back in the day.
Back in the day.
This one was made for you in red. There has been 1 or 2 later year copies
Oh, really? Okay.
from the original factory. This was the only Crimson Hollow Flesh they did.
That's it. You got it.
Yeah, and I love the thing. And as we talked before, this neck is incredible.
That's a great neck on there, right?
Such a good neck, really. You even wrote to me telling me how much you love this neck.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I love this neck.
So we're going to stay live just until we get off the air, and we'll say our goodbyes off the air. But Johnny,
Johnny, good to meet you. And your cat's having fun back there. He needs to be played with. He's playing with something. I hope it's
That's
not
that.
Oh,
an electrical wire or something.
that's
I
the
think
electrical wire.
I think that was the
Yeah.
rope I was tied up with last week
Oh,
on
he
Saturday.
might get a perm accidentally there. Careful,
I'm-
Katie.
no, it's not plugged in. It's not plugged in. I'm out here in California. We're having all those wildfires.
Man,
You guys been
yeah,
hearing about?
of course.
And the last show we did last week, my power was out for 3 days.
Oh man, that's
And
right.
so I had to run the show literally from the car battery.
Oh man,
This
wow,
is the truth.
going to this. Well, yeah, man. Well, good luck out there. We're certainly watching things and hoping that everything's gonna be okay.
Thank you, man.
Thanks to all the firefighters out there doing what they do, man. It's incredible.
Yes. Yes.
Guys, I've enjoyed it, man. Thank you for hanging.
Andy,
Yeah.
thank you.
Andy,
We
Yeah,
love to have
so
you.
much.
man.
Andy Timmons, everybody.
Thanks, guys. All right. Well, let's do it again sometime.
And
Yes.
your website again. Plug what you got going
Sure,
on.
it's just andytimmons.com. You can find me, Andy Timmons Official, on Instagram and Facebook, and the
It's all
Twitter.
down below. It's
Okay,
it's in the
great.
description already.
Okay, yeah, and there's the my subscription site if you want to learn everything about the way I play guitar, just guitarexperience.net. And more coming soon, man. I'll keep trying to play guitar.
And you got the Ibanez signature.
Yeah, you've seen those. I've been playing a few of them here, but the ATZ 100 and the AT 100 are still available, so check those out.
And the GHS pedal.
Yeah, the JHS AT Plus, and there's the BB preamp. I have a signature model. I think it might be a limited thing, but and the Carl Martin dual compressor and the GNI Octa Plus. My friends over at the Gig Rig, Daniel Steinhardt, making my G2 switcher, and all the guys at the Guitar Sanctuary here in Dallas. But thank you guys. Good to see you, John. And
Good to see you, man.
Johnny. Well, hopefully we'll do it again soon, man.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. Thank you guys so much. And thanks to all the people that were writing in with questions. I appreciate you tuning in. I hope it was fun for you too.
Everything.
I think we'll see you at NAMM also.
I'll definitely be the Andy Timmons band will be playing another X Jam one of the nights, and then I'll be hanging out at the show too.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we'll see you out there.
I'll see you there, man.
Thank
All right,
you, guys.
we're gonna hang out real quick. Hang on. All right,
Sure.
rock on, everybody.
Okay.
JohnnyBean.tv. Good night.
Okay.
And subscribe. And leave a thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Thumbs up.